Well, Eddie, we've got a few new members in tonight.
Oh, great. Hey, who are you? Where you came from? Good,
Well, I
glad.
think I think Jim T is a new member, Sue Bailey is a new member, and there's a Cindy on that I don't recognize. So I'm thinking she's a new member. So welcome aboard all.
Yes, please join in. Join in. Say hi or just do nothing. It's absolutely positively fine. I'm glad to
Yeah,
see some new
speak
folks
up.
coming on board. Hey, get your stuff out and show it to us. Got a problem? Let's talk it over. We got a problem. Tell us. That's just what we do here. You know the routine. We're out on a tailgate, sitting in the parking lot, and telling lies. I mean, talking wood turning, telling lies. It kind of goes together, doesn't it? Um,
All lies acceptable.
oh yeah,
Right?
really, really,
They're ours. We can tell them as big as we want.
yeah.
What my daddy always said.
For those who know me, 9 years ago, I came up with a little brain tumor thing up here, and kind of whacked out my whole life. When it came on, I was the guy that could go anywhere, do anything, build anything, and create anything in the entire world. It was just that's the way I was shaped. I was an old ammo troop from the Air Force days, and we if it could needed to be done, I could do it. Agent Orange took it away from me. That was pretty much simple. Been waiting for 9 years for somebody to give us some suggestions, recommendations, ideas, and finally we came up with one. If it's broken, you can't fix it. What do you do with it? You throw it away. So it's broke and it can't be fixed. So I got to get rid of some stuff. And we talked about it. When you die, what happens to all that stuff that you have? Really, think about it. This is not gruesome. This is just reality. We all talk about it. We all see it where Bob's wife's having a big sale to sell off all his equipment, and where all these guys went over and did this and did that. And I saw it again last week where a friend of mine passed on, and the vultures, and I'm using that term so nice, attacked, and it wasn't even sacred at his funeral about the people wanting to come get his stuff and take care of it and do right thing by him, all that. And that's when it hit me, and I started talking to my counselor about it and decided, this is not getting any better. My feelings of getting back and doing things are not improving. There's a list of about this long of things that is conditions. And it all came from loss of memory and brain damage and all that. We joke about it. We hear about it. We a lot of times we never want to admit to it, but it happens, and it happened to me. Well, I'm not ready to throw a flag in, but damn it, I ain't taking a flag with me because who's going to take care of it after that? So I decided, all this stuff has got to go. Everything I have here, all this equipment, has got to go. And I have a young apprentice that's a young man. He's in his 40s. Yeah, he's young. And he's last week we sit each week when he comes to take care of the house, and we talk about things. And last week our discussion got into bandsaws and then drill presses. And then the other day he said he was looking for a chuck for his lathe, and he's got a grizzly or something like that. And he showed me a picture of this thing, and it's a knockoff of a real lathe. And he said, when I'm ready to step up, I'm going to probably look at getting like a 16-inch jet or something like that. So all those things, they pile up after a while, and then I realized, you know what? I'm sitting on a small freaking gold mine right there. I got a young man. There's not a nickel exchanging hands between us. And here it is, things that he can use and he can make it useful and go with. And it's not anything at all about the almighty dollar. It's just one wood turner helping another wood turner. And I'm looking at it solidly like that. So we're making a deal. And the deal is pretty damn simple. It's got to go. So at first we're going to do the last 4 pieces of material I have out there is a big compressor, a bandsaw, a drill press, and my beautiful lathe. And they'll go to him now. And following with that is going to be the boxes of tools and chucks and braces and all and all the instruction on how to use it. And I'll tell you what, tell you how it feels. It feels like there was a giant standing on my chest for the last 9 years. And the giant moved, got off my chest, and said, okay, now how do you feel? Oh, I tell you what, that was a major thing. I thought I could never, ever do this. Give up all my tools?
Yeah.
To do that, did you? You know, what? You know, right off the bat, I want to say, what the hell's wrong with you, boy? You know, you got something seriously wrong. You know, but yeah, I do have something seriously wrong. But the right thing to do is, why would I leave my family burdened with this? I have to keep that. Why? It's sentimental. It means a lot. I worked my whole life to have that. I was sitting there the other day and I was looking around and I said, you know, when I look through this whole room, the one tool that I'm going to keep my hands on is a 6-inch block plane that I caught the bus to go downtown to New Orleans to buy for $17 at Sears in the basement of the Sears building in New Orleans because I needed a good block plane. And I was 12 years old. And I remember making the trip. I remember collecting the $12. That took a long time. And I still have that block plane. It's always hurt me when they cleaned out my shop before. When I got sick, some people came by and, he can't use any of this. And the vultures attacked one time. And then when my shop blew down, vultures attacked again. As what we can't use and can't handle, and I couldn't defend myself on it. Well, this time I don't have to defend myself. I got my block plane. You ain't getting it. But this is, I keep telling people, think about your family. Before all this happens, think about your family. If something happens to you tomorrow, is there a way out? Have you done the right thing? Have you identified that what would happen? Yeah. Number one, they have no idea what you paid for it, what you got invested in, and it's nowhere near worth what it was. Nowhere near. If you traded off a favor or a job or a hobby or whatever for it, that's you and your heart. That's all. But take care of somebody. And think about doing that early. I don't want to be a grim reaper, but think about taking care of it early. You will feel better. I'll tell you what, that weight came off my chest so great. I've had a fantastic week. It's been a week. It took me a whole week to even just talk to Tommy about it. Because then you say, well, what if I change my mind? Well, there's no changing your mind. It's the way it's going to be. It's going to happen. What can I do now? I didn't say I was getting rid of all my screwdrivers, just most of them, you know, and it really makes a big difference. I want to talk about that tonight because it's where we, as adults, reasonable adults, is where we really should think about it. My wife gets involved with her sewing equipment, her quilting stuff. She called all the time about somebody's mom died and they want to go clean it out. We have a rather large SUV, and I've been with her when we packed it clean through, almost enough room not to have seating. People giving stuff to her that their mother had that was so cherished and all. The bad news is we have went from that door to the dumpster immediately, because just coming out of that house and seeing what it was and how it was taken care of and how it was stored, if they had cats or they smoked or just old, etc., what they felt had a lot of worth might have felt something in here, but wasn't anywhere else. So think about that before your clock runs out and you're gone. Think about what you leave behind or what you don't leave behind. What do you need and what you don't need? And what you can help, but you can't help. Find an apprentice. Find somebody to get started in this. Bring somebody up into it. There's nothing better than that. There's nothing in the world until you know there's somebody following your footsteps right behind your steps, right there, doing what you can do. And you say, "Oh, I wish somebody could learn that today." Don't we all? Don't we all sit and think of what happened to raising kids? What happened to mannerisms and good intentions and all? You know, where does that go? It's right there. All you got to do is look for it. It's right there. We spent so much time in the pool today at physical therapy because my girlfriend showed up after we were there about 2 hours, and she's a special child of 42, the mentality of a 4-year-old, extremely special, and just interacting with a sweet soul like that is refreshing. Just knowing that the agenda is being nice and is a friend and you make an impression on them. And today she got a big hit. We happened to be leaving at the same time. She got to come out and see my white Honda Pilot. And that was a big thing. I mean, she was bubbling, you know, and she had to go look at my license plate so she'd know which car is mine. And then 2 or 3 minutes later in traffic, there she is pulling up next to us and just giddy as can be, just, you know, laughing and cheering and all. And you think, you know, today, that's what I did. I had fun with somebody and I left somebody with a little sparkle. So maybe you got a young man or a young lady in your life that you can bring in and teach. Doesn't have to be your grandson, your niece, your nephew, your godchild, or anybody else. Pick them, and you'll see them. You'll see them when their eyes sparkle when they see what you do. They turn a pen. Let them make their own pen. Let them watch you one time and say, "Okay, now you come here, right here, and this is what you're going to use. It's like a knife. We're going to cut this. Let's go to banana. When you get done, you're going to have this. Put it in your pocket when you get done, and don't lose it. Don't worry about it. They're not going to lose it. It's going to be right there in their pocket." But guess what you just did? You struck a chord for good because you took something so simple to you and you brought it to somebody and they can expand on it. And, you know, might seem like old time stuff, but always that make you feel good. It makes you click. So make somebody click. Think about that when you're doing it. Enough of that. I just had to share that this week because it was the right thing to do.
Hey, Eddie, I have a question.
Go ahead, sir.
New Orleans has basements?
Downtown New Orleans and all the old business district of New Orleans, there are buildings with basements. Some only go one floor down. A building I did back in the early 70s had 3 stories down. And the biggest problem we had 3 stories down was keeping water out. Because no matter what you told people to do and what they did, everybody said, it ain't going to leak here. Because we were building the thing, there was a 6-inch line running in a pit, pumping water out as fast as we could drive the pilings in. But normally a basement means it's below the ground, below the living floor. And that's it. But the old Sears building was the old Isaac's department store building. And The tool center was downstairs. It was 2 bus rides from the house. Yes. I liked it down there. It's a fun place. There's just, and I had a guy come by the other day and he's got a brand new Craftsman grinder. Craftsman brand grinder, brand new. And he bought it at Lowe's. I didn't know that manufacturer had found somebody to peddle the stuff for him. But,
Ace
look
and
at that.
Lowe's.
Ace and Lowe's.
Yep.
It looked good. It was, it had the regular hobby, the toy hobby stuff in it that they put in these tools today. Half the gizmos and gadgets were absolutely useless. Oh, look, it's got this gizmo on this apparatus and, this and that. They have never told you how to keep it in that box. It's a fun thing. I unlock that box and open it and get all the stuff out. When I worked in the field, I never knew a single carpenter or a mechanic that worked for me that knew how to close that box. Open it up and take everything out of it, spread it on the floor, work with it, and then hope for the best when you put it back in. I worked for an old guy, Harry Langland, that would just walk right by you and say, "Hey, close the box. Put all the stuff in it, close the box." Why? Because the trash wants to get in there too. And it just
Pieces walk off.
yeah. And then you see the wrench.
Hey, Kapp, I'm sorry. Hey, this is Al Dawson. Here, you talking about what you've been doing. Here, I found out that you and I had a mutual friend, Ron Skeckel.
Whoa.
And he said he worked with you a lot on job sites. He was a mason.
I know the name. S&S Masonry.
Maybe, yes, his son, Sean.
Yeah.
he said that, oh yeah, I know Eddie. But hey, he's passed away.
I didn't know that.
He died about a month ago. But
sometimes you hate to ask how your old friends are doing. Sometimes you just hate to ask that.
He said
he came to my rescue a windstorm about 20 years ago. Took the front off one of the retail operations I was building director for, and he came up with a block with blocks and block layer and put that thing back together the next morning, because as long as it was open, my boss thought I should live there. Because we didn't trust any of the security companies, none of them.
Him and I grew up together up in Pittsburgh. That's where him and I are from. We went to school together, him and me. But yeah, he told me that I worked with him. Kind of funny.
Yeah, you bump around and bump in.
Small world.
Yeah, I had a guy the other day talk to me on the phone. He's with the Veterans Information Bureau. And he called me the other day to promote some program that was going on. And it's like an insurance company. And we talked for a few minutes and he says, "Do you know who I am?" I said, "Yeah, you told me Vic." And he says, "Yeah." He said, "You called me Bud." And I said, "I called you Bud?" He said, "Yeah, I had the bunk right across to you in Guam. I worked the tire crew for the bomb dump, and you worked bombs and boosters in a bomb dump." And I said, "Yeah, what are you, about 5 foot tall?" And he said, "Yeah, that's you." And it was funny. We were right there in Guam in 1972 together. And remembers I got in trouble there too. Hey. But that was one of those things where Nixon was going to bomb North Vietnam, the kingdom would come and solve all the problems of Vietnam. Yeah.
It almost worked, Captain Eddie.
I know, almost. We just forgot to tell the politicians.
Yeah, well, I know that after the war, that the North Vietnamese high command said that they were on their knees, that it was they were all about ready to give up when we stopped doing it. So you're right; it was the politicians in the U.S. that stopping things.
We shouldn't have been there in the first place.
That's why'd we go and things like that. It's an ugly, ugly, ugly 54,479 lives ago, but it's, I remember
Mark Sillay just chimed in.
I got in trouble. I was on a weight loss program, had to get the flying weight. I worked in a bomb dump, but I had to get the flying weight. And I was like 1 pound away from it. And this airman in the clinic said something to me, and I said, "Man, look, you mess with me one more time, and it's going to be me and you in a parking lot, and you ain't coming back." And I figured he was going to tell somebody. The next morning, I got a call. I got to go see the first sergeant. I came home, man, this is rough. I got to have a good story for this one. I went up, and the guy says, "No," he said, "you're going to go TDY for a little bit," and he said, "We'll get your orders over to you. Go to the barracks, pack up your stuff." And I started leaving. He said, "Oh, we heard about the medical thing. We'll talk about that when you get back, okay?" So you did hear about it. Well, I would have wanted to stand and talk about the medical thing for 6 months and 4 days, because I was on my way to Guam, along with 5,000 people at the snap of. I mean, you say we went on a drop of a hat. At 10 o'clock in the morning, the orders went out. At 10 o'clock at night, we were flying. And they put a guard with me, make sure I didn't get lost between barracks and the airport. And they met it. And it was pretty serious times. Then we showed up at a place that got shut down. Guam had been loading 52s. It stopped doing that a couple of years before. Went back to the same barracks, same operations. Everything else had been dormant. And within about 24 hours, we had that thing up running and clicking. And it just shows you that SAC could come in, man up, and get it done. Ammo came in and saved the day and made it work. The only thing Air Force couldn't do was get hot water, take a bath in, take a shower in, and food to feed you. But they worked pretty hard at it.
You got to blame prime beef for that.
Yeah. It made for a very interesting time. Very interesting. And you know, life is only made up of those good times, those interesting times. How much do you learn when you're kind of on the fence and you can either fall to be brave or stupid? You know, you go over there and complain your ass off and get nothing done, or you can go over there and get something done. And I was over there with a bunch of troops that all being reworked, rethreads from Vietnam and all. So most of us had our history and we knew what life was about. But unfortunately, about 3/4 of the guys that went over there came in new married. They just got back from the country and got married and was going to start a whole new life and all, and then pow, off they went. That's I didn't get that way, but boy, that had to be rough. It was a nice place. Any place I served that I want to go back and see about, I'd go to Guam. It was a nice island. Pretty. Not it's not one of those third world nations you'd want to keep visiting for the tourism, but it's a nice place.
Yeah. I've visited it 90 days. I was so happy when I left.
Yeah, that's the thing. See, you get a little spark when you get away. Yeah. I was there about 4 months or 5 months when I started doing the math, and I went in to see the new first sergeant and said, "Hey, if I'm doing the math, I'm going to be here longer than my enlistment. He said, no, that can't happen. I wouldn't have told you. I said, you do the math. He looked at me, he says, oh, yeah. By about a week, huh? Yeah, what do we do? I don't think I qualify. And he said, nah, we're going to probably send you back a week early. So I got to go back a week early. Just down the process and get out.
Yeah.
A whole week.
Right.
But it's interesting times. Interesting times.
Yeah. Yeah. Nothing like what we did in our military time. That's for sure.
No,
Can't never be replaced and can never be forgotten.
no. What do you mean I gotta wear green every day? Every day?
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
just,
Yeah.
you know, and I get the biggest kick. We sit and Cindy and I stopped for a bite to eat the other day, and there was a bunch of kids in the restaurant just having a fit over something trivial. And I mean, just stinking up the whole place with the noise and all that. And I'm thinking, if they only knew when I was 18 years old, that behavior, somebody would have said, hey, you act like that, you're going to get in the army, or you're going to get, put away or sent away. They only knew it when I was 18 years old. That was a meant thing. You really, you might have been booking, you might have been moving. And if you did get in trouble, you paid for it. Consequences for your actions. Then about 15 minutes later, about 20 Coast Guard troops came in, all seasoned troops, gentlemen, a whole pile of gentlemen came to have their lunch. Nice to see them, professionals the whole way. Just nice.
Mhm.
I went from dirty water to sparkling water. It was really nice.
Right.
Hey,
Well, Eddie,
in a couple of weeks, we're going to have a big announcement on T-shirts. Is that right, Mr. T-shirt?
Scott, you wanna briefly touch on our t-shirts project? Briefly.
Look at that. See it?
Yeah. So coming up in September, there will be more information on how to possibly get some shirts made. So stay tuned.
Stay tuned.
Cool.
Stay tuned. Gary, go ahead.
Eddie,
Me?
Eddie, I got a question for you.
Go ahead, please.
Okay, on that turning of the pins with just the refill, not the large pins, but the one that you did the video on.
Yes, I call them the 12-cent pens.
Right. Okay, I'm looking on Amazon and there's one that's got two different sizes and it looks like it's the ball. There's a 0.7 millimeter and a 1 millimeter. Do you have any ideas going that far back of which kind or size would it be best for me to order? That's probably off the wall, but still.
What's the dimensions again, Gary?
0.7 millimeter or 1 millimeter. And the dimensions are shown in the description as it may be the ball size.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah, that's
Gary,
the ball
that
size.
means fine
That
point
is the ball
or
size.
medium.
Okay, so that's just if it's a fine point or a medium point. Okay.
Right.
Correct.
That, and do you need, I think in your description, you turned a coriander tip for it. Did you turn one of those for every pin, or did you just come down to a very fine point and then just push the cartridge into it?
The accordion was my bushing. I used to like you'd use a pin bushing for a guide to come down to the dimension, because I didn't want to have the refill has got it's got a little size on it down here, so I didn't want it to come to a fine point, because that would look kind of crummy. So I needed to blunt off someplace, and I blunted it off right where that refill would be, right where that size would be. And that was just, I just spun something and I picked corian because it would be a different material. When I got to it, I wouldn't cut it. I could have used any drilled bushing material I found at the hardware store if I choose.
Okay, so you used
But I
that to hold it while you were turning it, not to actually hold the tip on
No,
every
that's all.
pin that you turned.
It was a guide,
Yeah,
just a guide. And if you cut into it, just do another one,
right.
and you would give you a target. And it's funny when I did the ones with the like this baseball thing, my wife really likes the baseball bat shape. I had to develop 2 or 3 little gizmos to help me shape the end of it and put the rings on it, uniform. Because I couldn't stand it when they weren't lined up right. But like it was a saber saw blade. Found the saber saw blade. It had 10 points per inch, or 10 points per inch. I hammered it flat, knocked the points off, and I would just take it and use it like a rake. Lay it up there, and then mark it, and then get the wire, burn them in. They were fun to do. I did. I used to really like doing those pens, especially if you do them out of 2x4 or any other scrap on the floor. Really, just knock them all out. What are you talking about? A 9-cent ink pen from Walmart, and don't jump brands. Once you get set up to do one brand, the drill bit size will change from brand to brand. And I found them at Amazon for like 9 cents a piece.
The ones I'm looking at right here, they're 20 cents. You can get 30 for $5.99. That's 20 cents a piece. That's still dirt cheap.
Yeah, it is.
Might be able to find it even cheaper. But
all that, and I probably got 200 or 300 pins back in boxes. And
here's one
Gary,
for
I think,
100
Gary,
pins,
I think
and they're 7 cents a piece.
So Gary, you can probably go to Walmart and get a bag of Bics for $1.99 for 10.
Yeah.
And then just
pull
the ink and the point out of it.
Yeah. Especially at the end of school season, at the end of
or
school.
Costco, the big family packs. All that stuff's on sale right now.
Yeah, big deal because of everybody going back to school.
Yep. Well, everybody should have their school supplies bought by now. I think they started school last week or this week for the traditional school folks. So,
and that makes a great freedom pen. Don't shy away from it. They make a great freedom pen because you're giving that troop or those troops something you made, your shop, your hands, as a thank you. And it really does make a difference. Tim Hatch just put in here. Thank you, Tim. The 12-cent pen. My drill bit's been the 5/32 by 6-inch long aircraft extension. I always got them at Granger or MSC Direct or McMaster Car. And that is if you have the drill bit and you have a chunk of wood, that's what you need. That and a little bit of talent. You don't need a mandrel. You don't need any of the gizmos or gadgets. And it's going to teach you a lot about turning and drilling because when you do this, you're going to say, wait, you didn't really do that. Yes, but more than you didn't really just do that. Think about the physics and use those physics when you do other turnings. And think about the torque applied on your drill press. Put that 6-inch bit in your drill press. Put it at the end of a board and push down and go through a piece. And then let's take a bet. Will it come out 2 inches down, 3 inches down, 4 inches down, and 5 inches? where is it going to walk out of that board? Why? Because you got a quill torque. So, well, wait, how can you drill if that happens all the time? Right here. There's no quill torque. It's right here. I'm controlling it. I'm pushing it on. I'm relieving the pressure. I'm anticipating the move. It's just like you're guiding the tool. You are guiding the tool. You have a feel for it. And it becomes so second nature. You almost feel embarrassed to tell somebody about it because you want to show them and they go, "Well, hey, figure that out." Well, you do what you need to do when you need to do it. That's it. Gerald Jensen said he's got 2 bits, and I guess he drills a certain distance one, then he uses another one to drill deeper. I tried that, and I accidentally fell into this. There's a machinist supply repair place nearby, and I gave the guy one of my pens, and he asked me how I drilled it. I said, well, it took a little bit of time. I had welded the bit up. He went over the counter and got me 2 or 3 6-inch bits and said, "Here, try these." I was a novice. I didn't know they even had it. And then I was hooked. So.
Yeah, I got both the 1/8 and the 5/32. I got both of these from Amazon, and landed cost was with sales tax was like $7 each, to where I didn't even try and go to McMaster or any of the others, because by the time you add their freight, you're up in probably $10 or more.
Yeah, and you got to belong to the club or something.
Yeah, these are Bosch, so they're not bad quality.
No, never let that bit touch anything except wood. Never.
Yeah.
Or the plastic of the holders to keep it safe when it's in the bin.
That's it. And who said was it Scott last week that showed us that he put his back in a case, in a little plastic case?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. If it comes with one, put it back in it.
Yeah.
Right there.
Hold on, pop them up. There it is. Scott's got it up. Don't.
Right there. Goes in there every time it goes back.
I used to find those laying on the floor next to toolboxes all over the place.
Yeah. Well, hey Eddie, we got a few gallery items coming in. So
All right.
Let's go to some gallery items.
Sure. Who's there? What you got?
Let's see. I'm gonna show off my new shirt. Got this in
That's
the mail
nice.
today. Came fabricated. I didn't have to cut the sleeves off. And you got the back.
Oh, I like that.
Awesome.
Came that way with no sleeves.
Yeah, it came without sleeves.
And it's got the right logo on it, the ORG.
Yeah. And the .org.
Yes.
Only thing missing are the gouges, but that's okay.
Yeah, they were just a decoration.
Right. Yeah, nothing wrong with that. And then so my daughter, she wanted something turned, sit on her counter to store her Thai tea in. Thai tea leaves.
I like the finish on it.
And so this is a cherry that actually came from my old Chandler family cemetery out in the boondocks of eastern Kentucky. Back in 2018, when they had that severe flooding that went on, there was a cherry tree that was across one of the primitive roads. And so I had my chainsaw, of course, so I just lopped that sucker up and threw it in the back of the truck and carried on to finding this cemetery. Found where my grandfather was buried at and had a beer with him. Had several beers with him. That's another story, another time. So
it looks rather like an acorn.
Made a cherry. Yeah, it does kind of look like an acorn, don't it? You can fashion the lid like that.
Like you did a Bob Moffin on the lid, yeah.
Yeah, and so the finial is turned multi-axis. so I could have a flat, so I could burn
Oh yeah,
in T.
cool.
And then on the opposite side, burned in a B because that's my daughter's nickname is Bees Buzz. And so she hasn't seen that yet. So it's textured on the inside and no finish on the inside of the. And I'll tell you, this cherry fought me on the inside. You can see right in that black spot there. That was a limb inclusion. And you can see in the bottom, there's part of an inclusion, but it's all solid wood, but it's all just gnarly. And then coming out of the foot, but down where I had the larger part of the tendon at when I was parting it off, the rest of that limb, that black dot right there, mysteriously reappeared down here. And as you all know, most part, I always part down to about a ½ inch, and then I'll trim off with a bench chisel. I got down to a ½ inch, and boom, it hit that limb. And there's no sign of it here on this side.
Wow.
But on the other side of the wood log, you can see it clear as day. It's just the damnedest, weirdest wood ever. Never seen anything like that before. So I had to make a jam chuck and put her back up against the lathe and trim things back down again on the outside. Thankfully, I had enough wall thickness here on the outside to take off where it got marred up when it hit the bed lathe. But yeah, it was a pain in the butt. Super smooth on the inside. I sanded it to 400.
Looks good.
Dane, how did you finish the inside?
How did I what?
How did you finish the inside?
This side?
Yeah.
Oh, it's just natural wood.
I got you. Okay. All right. Thanks.
Yep. No finish.
Yeah. You're gonna put T in it. I wouldn't either.
Yeah.
Yeah. I hear you.
There's 3408 on this part of the lid. And then the outside is just all tunnel.
That is gorgeous.
That's me.
Very, very nice.
No smells.
Yeah, I've seen that knot issue with cherry, with walnut, and with box elder too. I think that's the
first time I've experienced it. It was weird. It, like I said, on the outside, there's no sign of anything at all.
Yeah, the interior of the limb inclusion is always,
you got that.
Sorry, the interior of the limb inclusions are always much harder than the surrounding wood.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah. So it was a pain, to say the least. The majority of the inside, I turned with scrapers. Believe it or not, it came out good. She'll be happy. She can have it tomorrow. I told her she couldn't have it till tomorrow, so I wanted to keep it for today for showing off during the group meetings. So,
well, thank you.
Another nice piece.
Yeah, thank you. All right, let's go to Gary Bobenhausen. Hey, Gary.
Yes, sir. I'm right here.
There he is.
Okay, you got me?
We got you, Gary.
Okay.
Good to see you. We missed you last week.
Yeah. I've been having a terrible time because we've been moving a board meeting for a club I'm in around. About 1.5 years ago, maybe 2 years ago, a friend of mine gave me a whole bunch of Chinaberry, and I've made some grinders out of it, and I just think it's beautiful wood. Well, I had some of the wood drying, so I decided to make bowls. This is get this a little better. This is the inside.
I got to say, it don't get no better.
Holy cow!
And I really love it. It's got all kinds of cracks in it, but I filled them up. But I really like it. And just a normal bottom.
It's beautiful.
Good job.
that one's about
Beautiful.
10 inches wide and about 5 inches high. That's number one. This
Beautiful.
is number two, and it's the same tree. And this was my first attempt at any kind of embellishing other than the burning of a groove. But I think you can see that there's some green around the top.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
And,
Yep.
again,
Very-
that's just my first attempt.
Ooh.
Look at that. It's
Yeah,
beautiful.
it is gorgeous.
Okay,
Absolutely.
Yes.
that's number
Good job,
two.
Gary.
Yes, sir.
Number two.
Yeah, that's number
You're
two.
making up. You're making up for missed meetings.
Yeah, this is not going well. He's got more than two.
Yeah, and I got or give me a hard time. Okay, this is a small one, and it didn't have a whole lot of definition in the wood, a differencing in color. You can only see just a little bit of it on the bottom, but it's just like I say, I love the wood. I think it's beautiful.
That screen.
Beautiful.
Pretty.
And then
Very nice.
this is my last one, and
Oh no.
Wow.
you were talking about holes and all that. I totally finished the entire bowl. I was all done with it. And I picked it up and sat it on the table for my saw, with, solid metal. And when I set it down, that daggum piece just fell out.
Yeah.
Oh.
And came on out. But I thought
That's
that was
pretty.
really cool.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Very nice, Gary.
And
You could
last
turn it
thing
into
is-
a yarn bowl with that knot hole.
That's what I was thinking. That would make a
Hadn't thought
beautiful
of that.
yarn bowl.
Hadn't thought of that. Last meeting when I was here, Captain Eddie was talking about a plate or a platter.
Yes.
And so I thought I'd go ahead and I'd start out with a small plate made out of this China berry. Little story, if you can see right smack dab in the middle, it looks like there's a crack there.
Yep.
Yeah.
I thought it was a crack, and I had it mounted on my lathe. And so I put a couple of drops of CA on it. Nothing happened. And the glue went away. Put a couple more drops on it. Nothing happened. Glue went away. I ended up putting about 8 or 9 drops there. And then I suddenly said, something's not right here. And it took me 2.5 hours to get this off of my chuck. Because it had all gone through the wood.
I'm glad I've never had that problem.
It had gone
Yeah,
through
right.
the wood and glued this to my chuck.
Yeah.
I had to take the chuck all apart to clean the chuck. And
I knew you were going there.
took me about 2.5 hours.
Yep.
So when CA disappears, you might want to think about it.
Yeah. You're doing what's called a B square.
Yeah. I immediately thought of Billy Burt when you said,
Yep.
I don't know where it went.
Yeah.
That's what I'm
Same
saying.
goes for
B
resin,
squared,
not
Billy
just
Burt.
CA. I've
Yeah,
done it with
right.
both.
Well,
Yeah, I know.
that was the first time I've ever done
Never
that.
let you forget.
And
I
it was
know.
the devil getting it off the chuck.
Hey, Gary, what kind of
Right on,
finish
Gary.
did you put on your bows?
I just put a sanding sealer, and then I went with the Beal buffing system. It brings out the color of the wood and puts a nice shine on it. And I haven't gotten into a whole lot of other finishes. There's a couple that I like, but I just thought I'd do the wax on all 3 types of wax on the bowl.
It came out gorgeous.
Nice.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
Very nice.
Hey,
Nice.
And-
Gary,
and-
in the future with bowls, whenever you have a knot or an inclusion like that on your bowls, always make sure you treat them with some thin CA.
First
that'll-
before turning.
Yes.
Yeah,
Well,
gotcha.
even when you're as you're turning, just make sure that they don't pop out. So yeah, reapply when needed.
Well, learn something new every day.
Yeah, absolutely. Great job.
And
Those are
Dane,
beautiful.
Right.
both of those incidents are on YouTube for posterity.
Oh no!
Right.
Both the
Move
chuck
Charlie.
and resin, CA and the resin. Hey.
Talk about posterity. Here we go to Charlie.
Yes, sir. First, I'll show the science project. This is my first attempt at a 3-pointed bowl. And I proved the theory that you cannot exceed the outside diameter. Otherwise, it should be about another 2 inches taller, but it'll work for something.
Yep.
Rule
M&M's.
47A.
And then 3 years ago, we had a storm and the neighbors lost a part of an applewood tree. And I told him if he'd give me the wood, I'd make him a cup. Took that long for the wood to dry.
Oh, very nice.
Oh, that's nice.
And you can take the lid off, set her down. You got a coaster.
Cool.
Oh, that's cute.
That is nice.
Very nice, Charlie.
And this is some of the first things I used to make when I started making the lathe with napkin holders.
Those are nice.
Yeah.
That takes longer to make than a bowl because every one of them pegs has to be the right size.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's why I don't do pairs of anything.
Yeah, me either.
And then I made a bunch of the minor 7-cent pens. It was 100 and some pens at Walmart in one box. And they were on clearance.
Oh,
That's
very
cool.
There's Captain's favorite, the baseball bat.
Yeah.
Nice.
My favorite, artillery shell.
Yeah. The camera like that too. Oh no,
Yep.
wait, wrong
I
animal.
like
Then just a plain old Jane one.
They're all skill builders.
Yes, very nice.
I found something harder to turn than pine. Some of these pens are made out of cedar.
Yeah.
And cedar just, once it starts, start going across, it comes off in chunks.
Yep.
Another baseball bat.
So tell me, I've always considered cedar like a pine or a fir. What is it really part of?
It's a pine.
It is a pine. Okay.
It is a pine.
It's a softwood. It's a conifer. It's a conifer.
Right.
Yep. But it's brittle. I mean, it is. I call it brittle for lack of a better word, because like Charlie said, if you're cutting at a certain angle and you catch that grain wrong, it just
takes
chunks.
the whole piece.
Yep. And it breaks easy. I've turned some goblets out of it, and you got to be real careful when you're turning the stem. It'll break really easily. Yep.
You got to have a very sharp tool.
Yep.
Keep sharpening it. That's all I got.
Hey, Charlie.
All right.
Charlie.
Charlie.
Thank you.
All right. Let's go across the pond. Hey, Paul.
Who's over there? Paul Hannaby? There he is.
Hi, Paul.
All right, how you doing? Yeah, I've got a couple of bowls. I just made them today. In fact, I made quite a few of these today. There's that one there, which is
nice lines.
Oh, pretty.
Pear, that one.
What's the wood on that, Paul?
Malted pear wood.
Oh wow.
Thank you.
You see the colouring in it.
Right.
So it's got some
Looks
quite nice
beautiful.
patterns in it.
That is nice.
Pretty wood.
And then another one from the same wood. Yeah, I've made quite a few of these today, all out of the same wood. But these two I just finished.
Very nice.
Pretty nice.
Very nice.
What finish did you put on them?
Just sun and seal backs.
Okay.
Wow.
Very
Yeah, that
nice.
works good too.
Pardon?
What kind of
Oh,
finish?
yeah, saying the finish work that you put on there works really great too.
Yeah, I mean, on things like this, I just go for a simple finish with sand and seal max. But Yeah, on obviously on food bowls, things like that, I did an all finish, but those are just intended to be decorative, so just a wax finish.
Very nice.
Well done.
Yeah.
Well done.
Thanks.
All right. Thank you, Paul.
Thank you.
All right. Let's go to Grandpa.
Who?
Grandpa.
What you got going on, Dave?
Grandpa.
I think after
I'm
6
here.
weeks they catch on. Yeah, let me
Well,
try it again here, Dave. I got you. Hold on.
aha.
Didn't
there
type
I
it
am.
hard enough.
This is a piece of European purple beech.
What?
Very nice.
Beautiful.
And
Purple.
I kept expecting it to come apart with that big bark inclusion, but I learned to be very careful.
That's pretty, man. That is really nice.
Yeah.
Yep. That is
Yes.
pretty.
Yeah, this
Very
was a tree that grew on the campus where I used to work. And I'm hoping to use it for homecoming this fall as a sort of a fundraiser.
Oh, good.
Hopefully I can find a
Nice.
sucker, I mean,
Yeah.
a rich donor.
Mm,
That's pretty.
But it's finished with a sanding sealer, and then I buffed in just pure Carnuba wax.
So much character.
Very
I love
yeah,
it.
that's big.
It's going to be hard to part with, but I think I can manage.
Yeah.
nice.
Especially if you find that sucker.
There's one born every minute.
Yep.
Yes, there is. All right. Thanks, Dave. All right. Let's go to. Where's he at? There he is. Mr. Bert.
Oh my Lord.
Billy.
The only thing I have is I finished my box. I put several coats of water-based polyurethane on it, and you can see the shine.
Yeah, it's
Pretty
gorgeous.
good.
Yep.
And I think that walnut lid came out really nice too.
Yes, it did.
This little piece of
Yes.
walnut doesn't have quite the chatoyance that most walnut does, but it turned out it'll work. But yeah, I love how this turned out, and I'm sure some kid is going to really enjoy it.
Oh,
I
yeah.
hope.
I'm sure they will.
I'm sure. Yeah. That's beautiful.
It's heading to SWAT this week to go to.
It is. If you're at SWAT, you'll be able to see it up close and personal.
And while you're there, folks, looking at it, you're going to see some absolutely gorgeous work on that display in SWAT's gallery.
Oh,
For
absolutely.
Beads of Courage. It's on one end of the room. It is. Take your time and take your camera for that, because there's so much thought-provoking work on that table. Some art, true art, comes from the heart. This is when turners like Billy and so many others really take their time and their heart and say, okay, I'm doing this not for Beads of Courage. I'm doing this for these children.
Right.
These
One
children
turning club last year, I think, brought 42 Beads of Courage boxes. There were 3 or 4 6-foot tables lined up along both sides, just full of them.
Yeah. It's a big deal. It makes you feel good to see people go through that for what that is. Makes, I don't care what you think you do in this world, that one little emotion right there makes a big difference. And remember what you leave behind. That's what you leave behind. That beautiful, Billy. Beautiful.
Yep. Great job. All right. Let's go to Howard. Hi.
Uh-oh.
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 Hey, can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Got a little holoform here. It's Osage orange.
I like
it.
Oh,
not
Wow.
Nice.
Nice.
Osage orange is kind of the exotic wood for North America, I guess. And it is hard.
Yeah, it is.
That's what I got on the back of my lathe right now.
And one thing about Osage orange, it's kind of like Purple Heart. It has voids in it that you can't see, and you're cutting through it, and all of a sudden, bingo, you got something going on. So
Like a bat.
I saved it, put some thin CA glue on it, and try to save it. And so I thought it came out pretty good. You know,
Yeah, it's
Yeah, it
beautiful.
did.
Yeah, it's
Yes, it
beautiful.
is.
Good job.
got two or
Very
three
nice.
coats of oil on it. Osage yarn really finishes. It's kind of like mesquite. Man, it doesn't take much to get it shining, so you
Nope.
don't need to put
Yeah.
too much finish on it. So
Yeah, I'm seeing on this piece that I'm working on right now, just doing practice, finish cuts on
right,
it. And man, you can make a nice surface just from the tool.
right, yeah. That's all I got. Oh, is
Yep, right
Joaquin Vincent? Is Joaquin Vincent on board?
He'll be on later. He has his
Yeah, I
men's
got
meeting.
something. I got something I need to show him later.
Okay,
Yeah, he'll be on towards last 30-40 minutes of the program.
Okay, all right.
Just keep an eye out for you.
Thanks, Howard.
All right, thanks. All right,
You're
let's
welcome.
go to Dave. Hey, Dave. Hey, George.
Hey, I'm here.
How you doing? I got you.
Coming? Okay. Everybody has pretty nice stuff out here. I'm still in basic training when it comes to this turning, but I'm turning a platter out of cherry, and someone else had a platter out of cherry. They're talking about how it turns. This is I have a 1642 jet, and this is 15 and 7/8 inches. But I'm frustrated as hell because whether it's cherry or whether it's probably me and my tools, but I cannot get a good clean cut here. I come down here and get a clean cut, but in here I have tool marks in here yet and tool marks out here. And, you can sand them out, but there's got to be something that I'm doing wrong when it comes to tool handling, I'm guessing. My bowl gouges are about a 50 degree angle on it, and my bottom feeder is about a 60, and I've tried it all. And anyway, I just thought I'd show you a work in progress that I'm working on. The biggest, sure, I'm doing here. Trying to make a nice chip and dip platter.
That's going to be nice.
But
What is that in the middle? Is that maple?
What's that? Oh, yes, that strip in the middle is a hard maple.
Hey Dave,
Yes.
I did a little demo for the club here, and it's back on the YouTube channel somewhere on shearing scrapes versus shearing cuts.
Right.
With the deep fluted bowl gouge, and maybe that would help. I don't know if it would or not, but you could look at that and maybe that would help.
I'll take a look at that. Like I say, I'm just kind of frustrated here because on smaller items, I can get some pretty good finish cuts. But this one here, the outside wasn't bad, but I'm having trouble on the inside of bowls. Trying to get, because I'm either leaving pressure marks or I'm just leaving small ridges all along the way. And it looks good until I start sanding. Then I start sanding and it says, man, this is not good. So I like to, I don't want to go back to 80 grit sandpaper because that's
Right.
that's not
How
many.
And Dave, if you have a round nose scraper, especially negative rake,
yes,
make sure it's really. Make sure you got a good burr on it, and you might want to sharpen it 2 or 3 times. It's a very, very light cuts. All you want to see coming off of that is little thin wisps, and that should take care of your tool mark issues.
That may explain part of it too, because I have a pretty heavy negative rake scraper. I mean, it's real heavy, and I started using that, but I was probably because I was getting tear out up in here that
Right.
it's going to take a lot of sanding, but I was probably being a little heavy handed on the scraper apparently. So,
Yep.
so
Do you
I'll,
have
I'll
a,
I'm
do
sorry.
do you have a second grind on your tool?
Yes, I do.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I actually on my my bowl gouges, I have the grind, and then I've taken the heel off on those,
Yeah.
and then on the bottom feeder, there is the typical 2 grinds, and then I actually have the heel off that too. So
Yeah, I agree. I
It's
agree
probably my
with
lack
Billy.
of. I'm sorry.
I agree with Billy on that sharp negative rake or a sharp round nose scraper.
Okay.
Elevated, good burr, very, very light cut at a time going across.
Okay.
Coming
Well,
down from your chip bowl,
right,
stopping in the center, and then coming from the wall or from the
Right.
convex of your wall, meeting back in that center.
Okay.
The
Right.
bowl gouge.
I get it clean.
The bowl
I get it
gouge.
clean. I'm
The
sorry.
bowl gouge is going to, with a bowl gouge or a spindle gouge, you're going to continually dig in, and that's what's creating the tool marks that are being left, because with the wall you don't have the clearance to be able to arc it around.
Correct.
So you're going to have to use the negative rake or a round nose scraper on that.
Right.
Okay.
And something that wide, you could have an harmonic issue coming up too,
True.
where the bowl
That's the wood spin in the center there.
when you touch the tool to it, the bowl wants to try to move and start to vibrate. And you'll get, typically when that happens, you'll see waves, but sometimes not. It just likes to leave tear out. So you've got to be careful there too.
Okay, well, that's good to know, because like I say, I'm trying to perfect my cuts. And the fact is, and how you remove your body and all that stuff. And I keep thinking, Jesus, I must be, I don't know. I get frustrated on it because I think I'm going downhill rather than uphill sometimes. So.
No, I'm going to jump on board with that harmonics. A lot of times in making those cuts versus the scrapes, you'll get those harmonics. Whereas when you first started describing what was happening, my first instinct was, and always is, I would immediately go to up on the shoulder scraper. And up on the shoulder just means not running flat on the tool rest, letting my wrist drive the torque of the scraper so that I am only riding on the little bitty part I want to cut. And I'm not relying on the entire blade to make a sweep or an arc. And I can make a nice, with that, I can control the degree of pressure I want to have or not have. And if I want to make it run past, skip over, you don't always get that feeling when you bear down on a tool rest or feel like you're burdened to a bevel. Don't be burdened to the bevel, burdened to your fingers. And you realize if you can fly, it's not a crude way to say it, fly by or make a single wispy pass. Did I say it right, Billy? Wispy pass?
Yes.
Okay.
It works.
Yeah. And it's funny. People say, but look, how often you got to do that? Yeah, only once. That's right.
Well, I appreciate all the input. Like I say, it's always been helpful here, and sometimes, like I say, it works good, and some days I kind of get frustrated. I says, well, okay, we'll just go ask the experts. So I appreciate everybody's help.
Hey, Dave, do you have a steady rest?
No, no.
What I do lots of time on a real large bow or a platter, I got several steady rests, and I got a 4-wheel steady, and I'll put it up behind the piece after I got the bottom, and that kind of holds it right up there where it won't vibrate with you.
Okay. No, I've been going to either get one or make one. But
yeah, I've made 2 or 3, so I use one all the time, especially on real large like the platter.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's good. I really appreciate that. Thank you. That's all I have.
All right. Thank you, Dave.
You bet. Thank you.
All right. Let's go to Got one more gallery item. And then we got top of the hour, so we'll be doing safety after this. And then we'll be going to our demo. All right, let's go to Sue Bailey. Hi, Sue.
Hi. Sorry, guys. I'm new here and I'm enjoying this a lot. I've only been to one
welcome.
meeting before. Hi.
Welcome aboard.
Well, welcome.
Thank you. Carl and I
Welcome.
are club members, Cape Atlantic Woodturners. And 2 club meetings ago, he did a demo of a tool handle. This is the rough. It's still got the, Anyway, he showed us how to cut the ferrule and create a handle. So I went home and tried my best. I really did. And this is what I created. And we had a 4-H booth.
Nice.
And I would take, well, the kids were really interested. The grown-ups could care less, but the kids were interested. All right, what's different between these two? I forgot to drill the hole.
Yeah.
Is this now firewood, or can you guys tell me how I can drill the hole?
I would just chuck it up. Do you have a steady rest, Sue?
I do not, but I have resources.
Okay. Well, a steady rest. I put the
the back
the
end
without the ferrule on it in the chuck, maybe with a little bit of padding.
Okay.
And then put a steady rest on the front and just drill it from the tailstock.
That way.
Yeah,
Awesome.
with with a Jacob's chuck, or maybe even like when I wanted to put a bigger hole in, I was running the drill all the way through my tailstock coming out the other end because I had a big long drill.
Okay.
Bit, you know what I mean? But whatever drill bit you've got, you can drill it as deep as you want, of course. But that's how I do it.
Firewood or here, dummy. This is what not to do. But thank you.
No, it's too pretty.
That's recoverable.
Yes.
Yeah, too
Very
pretty to burn.
nice. That's pretty.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
Sue, one of the easiest ways to make a pad is to take a small short piece of PVC pipe.
Okay.
Put a slot in it and use it to cover up your chuck jaws.
Oh, on the jaws. It's okay.
Yeah.
Cool. I'll give it a swing.
Randy, do you have an example of that handy?
I think I probably have one down in my junk drawer. Let me go down and see if I.
Okay, sounds good.
Hey, that's a good project for the recovery room. Once she gets it done,
it
she can
is.
show it to us next week.
It is.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right on.
All right, well, let's go to
And
safety.
that was a
Sue.
recovery master. That was a recovery master telling us about that.
Yeah. So let's go to safety Sue here, and then we'll come back to Randy. And
Hi,
then
guys.
we'll see if
And gals,
everything.
welcome all. The new members. It's so nice to see a lot of women on board tonight. I was watching you all
It
sign.
is.
It's great. I really got into woodworking after I retired in 2008. And I stayed with the big stuff, tables. I did a few tables and, bookcases and stuff like that. And a friend of mine got me into a turning one week, and I liked it. So I started turning 2 years ago. And I've been with you guys for a couple of years. But what I have found is that woodworkers and wood turners love to share their craft. But most importantly, hey, we're working with stuff that'll cut off our nose if we let it. We have common sense. And that's what we're talking about tonight is common sense. Common sense. Don't go out in your shop in shorts and thongs and try to do any work with sharp tools. Make sure you have a shirt on for the guys. For the girls, you're supposed to have a shirt on. Make sure you have closed-toed shoes on. My goodness, if you drop a tool and it goes into your foot, you're going to know it. If you have closed-toed shoes on, preferably leather, sometimes pleather, but some nice closed-toed shoes on, that'll save your feet. you have long pants on, if something goes by and scrapes your pants, not digging into your leg. Also, always wear safety glasses. That's your first defense. The other defense is your face shield. So you should be having both on. Common sense. Don't try to adjust anything while the motor's running at 3,000 RPMs. Not even if the motor's running at 200 RPMs.
Right.
Turn off the machine. Okay, that's adjusting your tool rest, your tailstock, anything, guys. It only takes a second to turn off the tool. And it only takes a split second to have an accident. So take the second, turn off your tool, use your common sense. Don't take shortcuts. That's for woodworkers, wood turners, anybody in life. Don't take the shortcuts because it could bite you in the nose. And the nose is better than the other one. So I hope everybody's safe this week. Use your common sense. Wear the proper clothing, the proper head protection. Make sure that you don't have sloppy stuff on that could be caught in something that's turning around 3,000 RPMs. Be good to yourselves, right. And the lathe and all our tools will be good with us. And I want you better coming out of that shop. I'm stealing from Dane than when you went in that shop. So be good this week. Stay safe. God bless, and I hope to see you next week.
Thank you, Sue.
And to add on to that,
she got the meddling when she said no shorts.
When you're turning your wood piece and you turn it off, or you still got your lathe on, and you stick your hand up there to see how smooth the piece is, whether you're checking to see if it's smooth or to try to slow the piece down. One day you're going to catch your piece. There's going to be a splinter in there, and it's going to shove it straight through your hand. I saw a video the other day where somebody had done that, and they were recording. And he caught the corner here, and it shoved like a 2-inch splinter, about a 1/2 inch wide. It went through his palm, and it came out the backside of his wrist.
Ow! Oh my gosh! Ouch!
Man, you guys taking all the fun out of this.
Yeah, there's some good discussion about what not to do in the shop with your skew.
Exactly. Hand wheel. There's a hand wheel on the backside of your headstock. If you feel the need, you got to slow it down quicker. Grab a hold of the hand wheel. Anyway, that's my soapbox on that. So
thanks, Dane.
Go ahead, Matt. Sorry.
Well, I was just saying there's some good discussion on what happens when you get too close to the skew and you haven't been careful in the shop. So Tim cut himself walking past his tool rack with a pair of shorts on with a skew, and I've dropped a skew several times in the shop, and it always falls point down when you do that. So
well, earlier today in another turning meeting, we do safety meetings or briefings a little differently when we talk about experiences that happen. So I'll go ahead and share one that happened with me. And so y'all see my tool rack, but before I had, so the reason why I created this tool rack is because before then, I used to have my tools on the little wood base, with the mortise in the bottom for the handle to sit in, and then the top to go against the magnet tape. And I used to have them stuck up there against the wall. Well, I was hollowing one time, and I must have hit the cabinet door or something or another, but my skews were up on the top rack. Well, what do you think happened? Well, that skew came down, and it caught me on the back of my leg. It just so happens I have those jeans on today. Wow. And there's the hole that it made. But it sliced the back of my calf where it went in about 1/4 of an inch. Thankfully, it only hit with the tip. And then it angled off as the handle came down. but it went, probably 6 inches down, rusted, from the top of my calf to just above my ankle.
Ow.
All because I used, that style of a tool rest with having it angled back against the magnet tape. Got the little Forstner bit mortise for the handle to rest it, but it still managed to fall out. And then I'm like, yep, I'm going to build a proper tool rest, tool storage system. And so it's a case structure thrown through holes, and there's no way to tools come out. And then I can see everything, but of course I've got them all organized and I know what tools where, but
looks a lot safer.
Yes,
hell of a lot safer than the magnet tapes. So
yeah, in keeping with your comment about grabbing the wood versus grabbing the flywheel, there was a time when the styles of turning I was doing had sharp corners. I would do a vessel with a sharp corner, or I was turning thin and the inside of a piece would be thin. And I've sliced my hand open more than once by just, reaching around to try and see how thin a piece was and grabbing it wrong, and it's just that thin wood spinning can be lethal. So that's also something to keep in mind. Even if you don't get splinters, you can still just slice yourself open with the wood that's spinning on the lathe. So
right. Yeah. Amen.
Pretty much always have your tools pointed down. Put them in a bucket, something. You don't want them sticking upward. If you trip, you're going to land on them.
Yeah.
No, and what kills me always, and I can't count the number of wood turners I've
over
seen
the lathe
that have their tool rack mounted on the wall behind the lathe,
right?
And they have to reach over the lathe to get to them. No, don't.
Yeah, I made that mistake when I first started turning. I had a pegboard on the wall behind the lathe, and my tools were all on the pegboard. And I very, very quickly decided that was a bad idea. So because you want to grab a tool and you're reaching across a spinning piece. It's really bad.
I had never thought of that. That's exactly the way I was going to make my tool rest. I had never thought of that. That's such a good safety point to bring up.
Exactly.
Yeah, just don't do it, Gary.
Thanks, Sue.
Yeah.
Sue always has enlightening and engaging topics on our safety, and we so thank her for that.
Yep.
Yes, she does.
Everybody getting involved. It's great.
Right.
Thank you, Sue.
Okay, let's go back to Randy and see if he has his example to show Sue number 2. Randy.
This is the little tiny thing. I get 2-foot long lengths at the local big box store. This goes inside the chuck jaws. The chuck jaws squeeze it shut,
right?
And they won't mar the whatever's in the jaws.
Awesome.
So it's just a small piece of PVC. You can get it at any big box store, plumbing store, whatever. I cut a slot in it.
What do you cut,
right
a quarter
size.
inch? Is that a 1/4 inch slot?
Yeah, but it can vary. It can be as wide as
like
3/4 and as narrow as an 1/8.
But
just depends upon what the relative sizes are.
Yeah, it works
Thanks,
just like
Randy.
a collet chuck.
Yeah,
it's
good. Just like a chuck. So
thank you, sir.
And,
Yep.
And for safety, Sue, my pet peeve is I see this too often. There's a wood turner. He's turning something. He's got a tool in his hand. He sticks it right under here, and he starts monkeying with the lathe. No. Now monkey with the lathe.
Exactly.
That's it.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Randy.
Good point, Randy.
All
So there's a corollary point to that when I was down in Aramont a couple years ago and with seeing Nick Agar, and he had a running pool going over who would drop a tool off of the lathe bed first, because you got your tools out, you set one down on the lathe bed, and it's his pool is okay. Who's going to knock one off first? So yeah, I mean, I have that habit of setting tools on the lathe bed also, and it's it's a matter of time before you point one of those suckers off and it's going to go tip into the cement or whatever,
So I got to ask, when folks lay their tools on their lathe bed, because I don't. I have my workbench behind me, and that's where and I got a tool tray in my workbench. Is it you guys lay your tools on your lathe bed because you don't have something readily available to lay it on something safely?
The truth is, for
matter of
the
convenience,
truth,
or
Yes.
yeah, and the truth is for me that when I first started turning and I started, my tools weren't as close to my lathe as they originally were, so I just got in the habit of doing it. And right now, it doesn't make any sense for me to do it because it's just as easy. My tool rack is right above my tailstock. It is just as easy to put them away there as it is to put them on the lathe bed. And my habit is to put it on the bed. So I try to consciously be aware of when I'm doing that, but I still do it sometimes.
Yeah, I've been known to do that too.
Yeah, hard habits.
But I have a black toolbox that sits just underneath my Powermatic. I've got about 4 inches of clearance between the bottom of the bedways and the top of the toolbox. So I have started sticking my tools down there, and I try to be cognizant to make sure that I do that because it's about 2 feet wide. So I've got plenty of room to lay the tools without them being knocked off or going anywhere. Then that works for me.
Yeah, actually a rack on the, one of those temporary racks that people make that just sort of sits on your bed, that makes a lot of sense. I noticed that one of the things that a lot of folks do too, now that I'm teaching and people have MIDI lathes that are basically screwed into a workbench top, that there's a temptation to put them underneath the lathe. And then you can't really, between the bedways and the tabletop, and it's safer there, but you can't really see which tool is which. So if you've got 4 tools under there, it's like, all right, which one do I want now? You can't really see the ends. You don't know which one it is. So
I can tell by the handles.
Yeah.
Color code them, huh?
I have a cheap little IKEA table that I have right here to the right of me on the floor. It's maybe 1.5 feet off the floor. So if it falls off that table, it's not hitting my feet. And it's actually not really probably going to dent or ding the tool. And they're so inexpensive. I think they might have been like $10 each. And they're stackable. They're small little end tables too. Let me switch my camera. It's a little messy because I use my lathe absolutely all the time. But here I'll flip it around. So here's my work area, my lathe. I'm working away on stuff, but I always have my tools and my jigs right here. So it's quick and easy to grab. And even if they fall, they only fall maybe 1 foot off the floor. And if they fall at that distance, they're really just going to fall like this. They're not going to ruin the edge. But I also like these tables because I can also stack them. So I can take it here and I can go like this.
Your camera. All we see is black, Cade.
Flip your
I
camera.
just, there you go. See?
Oh, yeah.
Now I stack that table
Right.
there.
That's already
I have
stacked.
my tools and chucks there. And everything's close, easy to grab. It's just because I set my phone here to move the table.
Those are little end tables that I've seen those at IKEA.
Yeah, and I mean, they might be maybe $10 each. So they're very inexpensive. They'll save your tools.
And that's not messy at all, Kate. Have you seen my shop?
All our
When's the last time you saw a floor in your shop?
I did tidy up a bit. But
I find it every now and then.
Are we sure we want to get into this competition, you guys?
I got 6 bags of dust and chips behind my lathe too, and then all kinds of wooden stuff here and there, but it's all good.
All right.
Jim Duxbury just got in the house, guys.
Yeah, he
All
said he
right.
just made it to Waco.
All right. Well, we are ready to go to our primary demonstrator tonight. And so, like typical for any demonstration, at the conclusion of my remarks here, I'm going to mute everybody. Kirk, I'm going to need you to unmute yourself. And then everybody else will be muted. You'll be able to do your demonstration. And anybody that has any questions or comments about on how they would do something or how they would like to do something, please keep them to the end of the demonstration. And then we can have a discussion about how you might want to do it. And then if you have any questions about what Kurt's doing during his demonstration, we'll be able to get those questions fielded to him and answered to him at that particular time. So without further ado, I'm going to mute everybody and then I'm going to highlight Kirk and I'm going to go from there. Kirk, we got you now.
Okay. I got it unmuted, so we're good. So we're going to talk about the Parfix tonight. So this is the four things I'm going to use: the 3408, 3460, the activator, and Vonax. And we'll explain them as we go. I just figured I'd show you the four things. Start. We're going to start off simple. Rid of the towel. We'll start out with the 3408. Easiest possibly thing to do would be a spindle turning. So this is a handle for an ice cream scoop. Now, this has already been sealed with the 3408 on this end because I'm going to put it into a piece of wood so I can't have it sticking fast. It is completely finished. The end is finished. So all I'm going to do is bring up the tailstock. This is a little piece of wood that goes over the live center with a little piece of leather on the end of it, just to give it just a little bit of support. That's all I want. I don't necessarily need to spin it, but I can. As you can see, it's not going to spin very true, but that's okay. We don't need it to spin very true. Simple in this case, simple paper towel is going to do the trick. Take it, I'm going to fold it up nice and small. Try and keep my fingers from sticking fast to everything. Here's a little thought for you. A little bit of microcrystalline wax on your fingers. On your finger, rub it around on your glove. And guess what? Super glue doesn't like wax, but now we can't touch the piece, but it'll keep the glove intact. Somewhat, anyhow. So in this case, we can spin it. Nice and slow as my lathe will go. In my case, about 175 RPMs. I put some on the paper towel. I can start by running it across. I can dribble right across the top. I'm going to stay away from the very end at this moment so that we don't stick it fast to the piece of leather because it would. We're going to make sure we get it covered well. We have 40 seconds to get our job done, so we're in no hurry. The 3408 is 5 centipoids in thickness, water being 1. So it is very thin and very poor. It will soak into the wood very quickly and very efficiently. I just want to make sure I get everything covered well. Give it a couple seconds. I'm going to tear the other half of that paper towel off because we're going to need to dry it off. We'll stop it for that part. And we'll just go back and use our paper towel and wipe off the excess. And it's going to take some off of this. This is a piece of Norway maple. So it is very hard, it's not very porous. So we're going to get all the excess off the surface because all we want is what's soaked into the surface. How you know you get it all off? Because it turns sort of dull in color rather than shiny. So we're going to get as much off as we can. We're going to get it all off because we still have to do a little bit down here on this end. So just take this little bit of paper towel and release the tailstock and get it out of the road. I just put a little bit on my paper towel. We can be brave and spin it. if you're so brave. It will come out of this little jam chuck quite quickly. It was very much a challenge because that's how I sanded the end of that. But I was holding on to this end while I did it, rather slowly. So we'll wipe off the excess on that. That is probably one of the biggest keys to using it, is make sure you get the excess off. And don't try and put a second coat of 3408 over top of itself. It will not work. It will sit on top on the surface and beat up like a nice well-waxed car. I'm gonna put the lid back on my glue. The next thing, I'm gonna spray a little activator on it, and we'll spin it around. I'm gonna shake the activator well as it falls out. Told you it didn't hold it very well. It will hold it when you push it in harder. Give it a spray out in no man's land and make sure all the propellant's away. One shot across it. That's all we need. Especially in my environment, I have humidity. If you live in Arizona with Dane, you might want 2 shots. I'm gonna sit that off to the side. Just because it fell on the, well, actually the lay's actually pretty clean at the moment, so there really wasn't a whole lot of dirt. But surprisingly enough, even though it's still not set up, I've dropped them in the sawdust already and pick it up and wipe it off. And it doesn't adhere as quick as what you would think it would. So that's our simple spindle piece. We'll move to a bowl, which is pretty much just as easy. This is just a jam chuck. This is just made out of resin. That's the only difference. Get rid of that. I'm going to put a piece of wax paper in behind it, in the bowl, and put it up against my jam chuck. Is that overkill? No, not really. I forgot I got to take the point out of there. I don't have a point in the center of that. Because if you do something that's thin, where the grain is wide open, like a piece of walnut or something like that, walnut is the one that I did it to, and it was up against that blue, I had nothing in behind it. And I did it, and went to pull it off, and I had some of this blue stuck down in the grain. And by the time you figured it out, it was already set up. So needless to say, it caused me a whole lot of aggravation. So a simple piece of wax paper.
What is that? Is that blue just closed cell foam?
Yes. Of some sort.
Yeah, so CA will just bead on wax paper. It will not dry on wax paper, and it's an awesome bonding shield to prevent CA from
there's quite a few things that CA doesn't like. Wax is one of them. Shellac, if you need to fill in a crack or something like that, and especially if you're not going to finish it with CA, if you need to fill in a crack, like some sort of a crack that you want to fill with CA and something else, put a light coat of shellac all around it, and then put your CA on, because the CA will literally run straight off the shellac. It will not stick to it. It'll make it gummy if you let it on long enough, but it will not stick to it. So we're going to do our bowl. I'm going to make a little pad. It's just a little piece of polyester felt. I'm going to take it and I'm going to wrap it up in my paper towel. See if I can do this on a curved surface. And that just gave me a nice little pad right there that's going to hold a whole bunch of CA for me. Because this we're going to put on my hand. I'm not going to spin it. I try and stay away from spinning pretty much everything, especially if I'm going to do it with somebody watching, because then they're going to turn their lathe on, and their lathe might be set at 600 or 800 RPMs or something silly like that. And all of a sudden they got CA flying everywhere, and it wouldn't be good for your eyes, mouth, anything along those lines. So we have our little pad. We're going to get it plenty wet. I'm going to start on the end grain because it's going to soak up the most. Put plenty of it on. Get a little bit more. Go to the other side, other end grain. And then we'll completely go the whole way around it. Because I want to saturate it. I don't want to be shy with it. I want to put lots on. Cherry is not super porous. That's where the 3460 is going to come in on the next piece that I'll do. Because the next piece is going to be a piece of white birch, which is like a sponge. So now we got a problem because we have this beaded foot into there. So how do I get my pad in there? We don't. We take the bottom, we put a little dribble in there, and guess what? Gravity did the rest of the work for us. So we don't have to try and get in there. If you're trying to finish something like this with a wipe-on finish, that would be a nightmare down in that little crack. And we have 40 seconds to get our job done. Well, the wax still works pretty much. Once again, we're going to go back and we're going to wipe the excess off. As we're wiping the excess off, we're rubbing anything around, looking for any dry spots. At this point, if you had a dry spot, get back after it right away. Don't let it set up and then go back. So that's our outside done. Once again, we're going to go back to our activator. We're going to shake it well. We're going to spray it about 18 to 24 inches away. And I'm going to spray up here so that the mist lands down on it. I'm not going to spray up here. I'm going to spray up here, up there. You won't even be able to see it on the camera landing on it. We're going to buff this. So I'm going to hit all four sides. The only downfall of using an activator on something like this is now I sprayed the active, and without it being spinning, I shouldn't have got any on the inside because we still have to do the inside. So we'll take our chuck off. No, I don't need chuck off. I need that off. And this is actually not really sized for this jaws. I should switch jaws, but all I'm going to do, finger tight, very small finger tight, and then we can do the inside. And we can see the inside would be better. So let me switch to there. Now we can see the inside. And we'll do the same thing on the inside as we just did on the outside. I already have a couple pads made up, so we don't have to play around making up pads. The inside, whichever side you do second, is going to take less material because the grain has been filled up from the other side. Unless your piece is really, really thick or something like that, then it might not. Here's where you could spin it if your lathe goes nice and slow. Once again, it's not necessarily a recommended practice, but it can be done. As you can see, I didn't have to go back and get more CA to cover the inside because it's not going to absorb it because the outside has been sealed and it can't suck any through. Speaking of sucking on things, don't ever use a vacuum chuck to do this unless you don't like the vacuum chuck very well. I know somebody, a very well-known turner, that had that bright idea because he makes a lot of calabash style bowls, which are a real pain in the ass to finish. At least finish the inside of them. He got the bright idea. He just hold it with the vacuum chuck and put the 3408 on it, and the vacuum sucked it right straight through onto the vacuum chuck. And he uses a rather expensive vacuum chuck to go with it.
Ouch.
He
only did that one time.
Well, he was fortunate enough to release it quick enough that it didn't have a chance to set up. But I think it ruined the rubber on it. So that's it. We're going to set it off to the side because we're going to keep on moving. Myself, in my normal work, this would sit for 24 hours. I would not come back to this till the next day or whenever I get back to it. Reason being, needs to have a chance to cure. Is it has a 24-hour cure time. And I should have looked at that. That might be too big. No, it'll work. So if you're patient enough to wait for it for the next day, for the 24 hours, and then come back and buff it, you'll make out much better with it. Because I'm sure I'll be able to show you what happens, because it's going to, there'll be places when I go to buff it that the heat is going to draw it back up out of the grain of the wood. So if you're patient enough to wait for the day, it is a much better way of doing it. This one is completely finished inside and out, the tenon or the foot as well. So I will be able to grab a hold of it as long as I don't squeeze it. So now we're going to switch to the 3460. You say, why 3460? Like I said, this is white birch. If I put the 3408 on white birch, it will, I've discovered that some of these really soft woods and Spectraply, you cannot put enough of it on to fill the grain up. It just keeps soaking it in. It just literally disappears. And then you don't get the shine. The 3460, we went from 5 centipoids to 45 centipoids in thickness. By no means is it you're getting close to a medium or anything like that. It's still very thin, very water-like. It's just going to clog up the pores of something soft much quicker. And if you wanted to, if you were so minded and really wanted to go for that super high gloss plastic look of some of the, some people like that. Some people, the pen turners, they just love it, but you can put multiple coats of this on. This and will cooperate with itself, and you could put on as many coats as what you wanted, and get that plastic, super high gloss plastic look. I don't think I do have. I've done a couple pieces that way. Generally, it's going to be something spindle wise because it's easier to sand. But this stuff does sand very easily. I wet sand it. Because to me, wet sanding on something like that on a plastic is easier than dry sanding. But as you can see, even with the 3460, there's almost none sitting on the surface. And then there'll be a couple of little places that it's going to sit on the surface. Because it just, like I say, it just keeps soaking it in. I'll just do the outside of this one. I won't bother with the inside for you. It's just a rinse and repeat of what we did. It's just basically just a different product. I will give it some activator. In my climate, I can actually get away with not using any activator, especially this time of year. We have humidity. I could just sit that off to the side and let it cure on its own. The CA glue requires moisture to activate and set up. So if you have no moisture, it will not set up, which is kind of a weird thing, but that's just kind of the nature of the beast, as they would say.
Yeah, I find that out here when in the fall and winter time, I need to use the activator for it to cure properly. But in the summertime, I don't have to. We've got higher humidity.
Right. I had a gentleman that got some from me, and he lives in Arizona. I don't remember where in Arizona he lived, but that's what he got it, and he sent me a message. He said, "Hey, this stuff it's been 2 days and it's not dry." And I'm like, "Really?" I'm like, "Wow, that's cool." I said, "Where the heck do you live at?" I'm like, and he told me, he says, "Well, I live in Arizona." So once again, wax. Put a little wax on my finger. The end of this is already finished. but that doesn't mean I might not dribble some down over it. This is a handle for a bottle opener. It's also Spectre ply. Spectre ply is not the most friendly. I guess we can leave that alone. Leave it two-way. Not really going to show. Yeah, it'll be all right. So here we have a choice whether we use a pad or not. I'm going to go ahead and use a pad. This and I will spin nice and slow. Like I say, as slow as my lathe will go. If your lathe doesn't go below 200 RPMs, do it by hand. Don't risk this stuff flying in your face. Because the first thing it's going to do is go in your eyes. And when it gets in your eyes, there's moisture. It would instantly cure. This, like I say, this is Spectre ply. This stuff is very hard to get filled up with super glue in one coat. This would be one of the places that you could possibly do the second coat if you wanted to. And I have done some of them that way, but I'm kind of lazy when it comes to that. I don't necessarily want to go to that much trouble to make it super high gloss shine. It'll be shining enough anyhow, as far as I'm concerned. And it's more than durable enough. Once again, this one has, the 3460 also has 50 seconds of time delay. So it's thicker and it'll give you more time to do what you want to do with it. The only thing is, if it's something that has dye on it, it will reactivate it. You can use this stuff over a dyed piece. You just want to make sure your dyed piece is dry and not 5 minutes late. You know, especially if you're using an alcohol-based dye, which is what I use. Don't think you wiped it on and you're going to come back 10 minutes later and put super glue over top of it. It does not work very well. Because I'm sure, I mean, I'm not the chemist that makes the denatured alcohol, but any of the alcohols are all distilled with water. So that means there's still some water left over in there. So as soon as you hit it with the super glue, it will right away set up on you, and then you'll be irritated. Once again, one shot, the activator, 18 to 24 inches away. And that's it. Even this stuff, you even have to almost be careful on touching it. Because even though I've activated it, there's still enough on there. In fact, I don't need to take that. No, I don't need to take that off there. I'll just knock it out. See if I can knock it on the floor. That's pretty much the two different. Oh, there's one other thing I could show you. If I had a place to sit that. Okay. If you're somebody,
Kirk, real quick. Kirk, real quick. Can you explain what Spectre ply is?
Spectre ply. Let me get a big piece of it. Make it better. Get a bright colored one. Spectre ply. Okay. Let me switch back to overhead so I got a bigger view. Spectre ply is just what it sounds like, except everybody hears the ply part. It is not plywood. The grain is all running in one direction. It is basically, if you were to put this on a lathe, this is basically a spindle. The grain is all running in one direction. It's just colored. Actually, most of it, I think, from what the lady told me, there's a local company, or local, it's about an hour away. That's where I had gotten it from. They make gun stocks out of this. And we used to be able to go up and get scraps from them, leftover pieces from the gun stock making. And at that point, she was selling it to us for like $1 a pound. This stuff has become very expensive from what I understand. I really haven't purchased any of it in quite some time. But it's nothing more than, some of it is thicker than others. As far as applies go, it's not very thick. It's less than 1/8 of an inch. I think they're more like about a 1/16 of an inch thick. So what they would do is dye this stuff. And of course, the white would be the natural birch. So this one's red, white, and blue. And then this stuff is glued together with, I don't know, it's really a nasty looking glue, because I would get some pieces that I don't have any of them, because that's the first thing I would do. It's the industrial type glue that they would use to glue that stuff together. It is kind of, I would say, probably the least favorite of things to work with. It is very dusty to work with. It is very, very abrasive on the tools. Because of the glue. It's, the whole thing is really one big massive hunk of glue when it comes right down to it. So it's, like I say, it is very abrasive on tools. It used to be very popular. I'm sure if you were down at SWAT, I know last year I saw some, or not last year, a couple of years ago when I was down at SWAT in different places, I've seen some people still have it. It comes in, what did this lady, the ones we were getting from the gun stock people, they were around 2 or 2¼ inches thick. And they would buy it. It was made in planks that were 36 inches long, maybe, and only about 10 inches wide, something like that. If you Google it, I think there's still some places around. There's a I can't pronounce. I don't think I can pronounce it right. Castilia or something like that. They used to be a manufacturer of it. The one manufacturer that she was dealing with, which was up in either northern Pennsylvania, or I think it was up in the lower part of New York. Their factory actually burnt to the ground. So they were out of business and she had to go somewhere else. But like I say, it's been years since I bought any, because I don't necessarily particularly care to work with it. But back to the job at hand. Piece of walnut. Some people don't like the CA finish, even though it's very simple to use. They're like, I want my oil finish. So what happens if we put some boiled linseed oil on our piece of walnut to make it turn black, like everybody wants it to, right from the word go. So we can put a light coat. We're not going to put umpteen coats of the boiled linseed oil on. This is the only one I've tried. I really don't do much of anything with oil finishes. Even in my cabinet work, I don't use an oil finish on those. I use a lacquer, which is water-based. But this works. It makes you feel better that, I have an oil finish. This will make the walnut. I don't really see a need to use it on the cherry. That cherry will turn dark very quickly on its own. It doesn't really need to help. Walnut will stay lighter in color longer with the CA finish. So a nice little light coat. I would think you could probably use, like I said, I don't have any, but you could probably maybe get away with a light coat of like Danish oil. Just don't use something that's going to create a film, because then it's going to stop the 3408 from getting in. So once again, we're going to wipe off the excess. I've tried it both ways. I've left this go overnight and come back the next day. It doesn't seem to work quite so well to do it that way because it's had enough of a chance to start to clog up the pores. So it didn't absorb as much as what I would have liked it to do. Then we'll just go back over with the 3408. The only downfall of like this, when you're putting something like that over top of it, all this out here is white. In this case, it's not super white. It's more of a cream color rather than white. Now just rubbing my finger over it, it's bringing more of it back to the surface. But if it was snow white, I have some little ones that I did that way that are actually snow white, and it turned it yellow. It sort of turned it a yellowish color because the oil has color to it. That's the part that most people don't understand because I want the oil finish because I want the look. Well, all you're doing is you added color to it. Because I have yet to see any oil finish out there that doesn't have color. There's none of it that's clear. Perfectly clear. Put it that way. So see, it still absorbs it in quite easily, quite well. End grain is going to soak a lot in, just like everything else. The more porous the wood, the more it's going to soak in. You just keep going over it. As long as this maintains a good wetness to it, it stays active for quite some time. It goes well beyond the 40 seconds in their idea of a time delay. There again, humidity would play a factor in it. If we were in the swamps of Florida or something like that, then you might not have quite as much time to mess with it. So we're going to say that's about as good as we're going to get it. The oil does make it sit more on the surface than soaking in. That I will tell you. It does have a tendency to allow it to, right there, it's sitting on the surface more so than it's soaked in. And it should have soaked it the whole way in on the end grain. So the oil, that little bit of oil maybe would have saved you a little bit of material as far as the super glue goes. But it definitely gives the walnut, like I say, I don't do a whole lot with walnut to start with, but it does give it the darker look quicker rather than waiting for it to do it naturally. Because all woods turn dark eventually. Some quicker than others. So once again, we'll activate it. I'm going to clean the nozzle. I'm going to hit it. End grain is going to soak up the most. So that's where I'm going to hit it first. We'll come down that side. Whoop, down that side. That's all it needs. That one lonely little can of activator probably lasts me 6 months. And I finish everything I do with the CA. Almost everything. Probably 95%. Because I don't do a whole lot of other stuff other than that. But that's our pieces done. As far as the super glue goes. So we'll move right into buffing. I'm going to start buffing on something that I already had set up from a couple days ago, actually. But it's going to be a piece of spectra ply. I use the Morse taper one. I don't have the threaded one. So it gets a drawbar on it. Absolute necessity, because it will come off otherwise. Don't ask me how I know that. You could actually bring the live center up against the end of the bolt. It would help you too. Our buffing wheel needs to stay clean. You see it's orangish looking because I was buffing stuff the other day. I'm gonna take a piece of 120 grit sandpaper. I'm gonna clean it off a little bit. Here's where I usually turn the dust collector on. Oh, okay. Little tidbits. Myself, face shield. And get rid of the gloves. I don't want gloves catching on that. Speed, 1700. This is Vonax. This is what's left out of a half a bar for me. And there again, it's probably 3 or 3.5 years old, something like that. A little bit on there. It turned it orange. That's all we needed to do. This is another piece of Spectra ply. This is actually a bottle stopper top. It's like a little hat. So we're going to give it a buff. For something like this, the hardest part's going to be the little knob on the top. I'm getting up underneath that little rim. We're going to go in multiple different directions with it. Really try to. It's a little bit harder with smaller stuff like this. But I'm going to go in more than one direction. And you can see the wheels getting wider and wider. That means the Vonax is getting pretty well used up, which is good because it'll leave like a haze on it. The harder the wood, the shinier it will become. That's the Vonax part. I'm gonna switch back and forth just as easy. And then we can put a coat of Carnuba wax on. We're going to drop back to about 900 RPM to do the Carnuba wax. Carnuba wax, I swear, I had a block that was that long. As you can see, I'm down to a little itty bitty piece because you drop it on the floor. And I had about a half a bar, but it was in with this stuff here, and I threw that piece in on top of it and broke that in 3 pieces.
Bomber.
So we'll just give it a buff. Once again, you can buff this till the cows come home. You just keep putting Carnuba on there and keep going. The shinier you want it, the shinier it will become. The Carnuba wax is very hard and very durable, so it's going to last. Shine's going to last for a long time, unless it's something that somebody handles every day.
And Kurt, do you find buffing at 900 to 1200 is the ideal speeds?
Yes, if you go too fast with the,
it'll burn it.
Well, the Vonax won't necessarily. I've never had it burn a piece, not a piece that's been done with super glue. I will tell you this much: it will burn a hole if you. And I'll explain it more with this piece here. But when I go to buff the inside of this, I'm going to come up underneath it and I'm going to buff it, and all I'm going to do is spin like that. Well, that little maneuver will make a silver dollar size piece in the very bottom of a bowl. And how do I know that? Because I had one that was done with lacquer, and I'm just going to go ahead and buff it just like I do all the rest of it. I literally burnt through 3 layers of lacquer plus a coat of shellac was underneath that. So there's 4 layers of finish, and I burnt through that in about 30 seconds flat. And it literally burned a hole right straight through it. Wasn't a good day. So this is, let's do. So we're back to our handle, which is what we did first. A little bit more Vonax on there. Okay, to answer your question on the speed, I've never messed too much with the 1700 on, most people don't even buff at that speed. Most people are only running like 13 or 1400 from what I talk to different people. They're like, oh my God, you're going 1700. I'm like, well, yeah. I'm like, well, I burned through the finish. I'm like, well, that's because you're using the wrong stuff. Well, this is buffing a piece of plastic. That's what super glue is. No matter what anybody says, it's liquid plastic in a bottle. And there's more than enough people, more than enough places out there for people and things like that that talk about the different super glues.
More bacon. Oh, the top.
Remember I said about not going over top of itself? Well, in a situation like this, I didn't have much choice because I needed to be able to finish this. And I got back up over where I had already done. Even though I didn't spray activator on that, it had already started to set up. So your fingers tell all. I rub my fingers over that. There's a couple little places that I can feel it. It's a little bump. This might actually be challenging. I do have a little bowl back here. You won't be able to see that. I don't think I can get close enough the right way.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, you can. You see the, well, let's do it this way. Try not to make you dizzy. How about if I sand it with 800 grit sandpaper, which is one way of doing it. It doesn't take much to get rid of it, which that actually got rid of it for me. But we're going to have to go the whole way around it because where I went up over that is going to be the whole way around. Now, the real question would be, do I need to go back over it again? The answer is no. There's already more than enough has soaked into the wood. So we'll just go back and we'll just buff that little bit. And you'll never know that you sanded, not to mention that's 800 grit sandpaper. You're hard pressed to find 800 grit plastic. Like I say, this is Norway maple. Which if you didn't know the maple family, the Norway maple is the hardest of the maples. Everybody talks about hard maple. This is the hardest.
Run your camera out.
Thank you. I need you along on Saturday night when I don't forget to do shit like that, or Sunday night. No, we did wax on the other one. We don't need to do wax on that one. But as you can see, even without the coat of wax, it has a nice shine to it.
Yes.
And it definitely shows the curly figure in this piece of wood. Without, what did we spend? 5 minutes on a piece at most?
If that.
If that.
Would have been less if you didn't talk so much.
Right, exactly.
That's a joke.
Let's do the piece of cherry. Probably not going to touch that piece of walnut because I know once you put that oil on, it seems like it makes it. I definitely haven't tried to buff one of them that quickly. The cherry buffs very nicely. Once again, it's one of them situations where you give it the time to let it cure so that it's nice and hard when you go after it like this. And it'll take you a lot less time. Not that this is taking a ton of time. That's our cherry piece. And as you can see, there's still a tenon in the bottom of it. So I was supposed to grab it with that one rather than grabbing it out here. But if you like to watch any YouTube videos, Richard Raffin is a really big believer in the proper size tenon, and in this case, the proper size foot to match the jaws that he's using. And I'm like, yeah, wait a minute. Yeah, I've heard of that before, but I never really tried it. If this was to match the right size jaws that I have, you can grab a hold of it without it marking it. If it completes the circle.
Right.
You make it correctly with the correct dovetail that's required, or non-dovetail.
Well, in this case, it's not even a dovetail. I mean, it's round.
It comes across perfectly round, doesn't leave any indentation.
As long as it comes across there nice and round, and there again, I'm not going to squeeze hard on it.
Yeah, we have a flyer on that. One of the primary articles on our webpage on how to make a proper tenon and mortise, exactly for what Kirk's explaining there.
Yeah, as long as it makes that complete circle, and you don't use two hands and 2 feet to try and tighten it down, like you see a lot of people do it at a symposium or demonstration, that they're grabbing their chuck handle with 2 hands and cranking on. It's like, it only goes so tight, and then it's done. So I think this was going to show you one other little thing. You don't have buffing wheels. You can use the polishing compound, the abrasive paste, I guess they call it. Here's where I'll see if I can mark it, which I probably will, because here I actually need, hold that thought. That's the right size. Because I want to get a good grip on it, because the abrasive paste, I'm sort of going to push a little bit harder on it. And I really don't want to crank down on it. I just went up one size in the jaws. And I think if I checked the other day, yeah, this one actually will go to where less than 1/8 of an inch in there. So that did complete the circle for me. The other thing you can use, if you get a place that would be like bumpy or something like that, I have a little piece that I did the other day that has some little bumpies on it right here. And why it has some little bumpies on it is because I actually filled that little crack with super glue. You can use a straight razor blade as a little cabinet scraper as well, especially if you have a bigger surface area that you need to do something with. You could even go back over that with a little bit of fine sandpaper, or just go straight to the buffing wheel. So that's what you call a simple cabinet scraper. We need to come back in from the end. And let's go strictly from the end. That's a little too close. That one's not quite as easy to manipulate.
The one overhead is a video camera. There we go. So the one I use, I have tried, is a Yorkshire grit. I'm going to use the microfine. I'm not going to go back to the, what do they call the other one? They just call it the abrasive paste, which is a coarser abrasive paste. Once again, I'm just going to use a little piece of paper towel. And of course, all them people talk about, you spread it around by hand. Once it's spread around by hand, I'm going to spin it. Nobody ever talks about how fast you should spin it. I'm usually, that's about a little less than 600 RPM, something like that. Kind of interesting stuff to use in a way. You can literally hear, it sounds like it's scratching the shit out of something. To me, I always go till I can't hear it when stops that scratching it's sound. Flip it over and get to a clean part of the paper towel. Get some more of it off because it is kind of messy in a way. Go back to a cleaner paper towel. Bring the speed up 1200 RPMs, and then we're going to polish it. It's actually quite interesting because you can actually get almost just as good of a shine out of it doing it this way as if you were to buff it. It's a little bit less of it's more of a satin type shine, I think, but there's nothing says that you can't go over that multiple times with the abrasive paste. And you could also, if you don't like to buff things, you could use the abrasive paste as well as you could put a wax over top of it, like one of the microcrystalline waxes or something like that. But it is very simple to use and very quick. In my world, that's the two pluses. I don't have time to be messing around putting 4 coats of everything that I would make. It's bad enough I have to do it in cabinet world. I think that's all I got for you. I could.
Great job, Kirk.
Yeah, good demo.
Wonderful demo.
Folks, is there any questions?
No
question.
A good demo, absolutely.
It was an excellent demo.
Thank you.
Is that 3460 over the BLO or 3408?
That was a 3408.
Okay, over the BLO.
Yes.
Could I make a couple
But
remarks?
you could use either one.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Could I make a couple remarks, please?
Go right ahead, Mark.
Sure, Mark.
Okay. Number one, Kirk, it was a very, very, very good demo. I want to make a couple remarks. Number one, right, if you have a hollow form, right, I do not recommend putting any more than 1 coat of 3408 on. Reason being, right, any type of acrylic that you're putting on there, and this 3408 turns into acrylic plastic, is a crystalline product. When the humidity changes on a thin hollow form, it's going to have a tendency to expand and contract. If you put more than 1 coat on a hollow form, when it expands and contracts over the years, since it's a crystalline product, it could have a tendency to slightly check or crack.
once you put that one coat on and it infuses into the cells of the wood, right? It's the wood eggshell surface. It's all in the molecules of the wood. So I don't recommend, I've been using this stuff for 14 years. So I don't recommend any more than one coat on a large bowl or a thin hollow form. Now, when it comes to pens or like your little ice cream scoop handle or whatever, that you can probably put as many coats on as you want. But anyway, that's one point I want to make. The second point I want to make is a very, very good point that you brought out and emphasized, that if you should have some little bubbles or little spots on the surface after you wipe it off, right, and you go to finish it, again, you can take that 800 sandpaper, since all the cells are totally saturated with the super glue, the 3408, then you can just lightly sand that off. And since all the cells are saturated, you don't need to spray it again or wipe on more glue. Just turn around and use the buffer. Another point I want to make, which you brought out, just put a little bit of that Vonax, on the wheel. If you put too much Vonax, or you're using white diamond on lighter woods, right? Don't put too much on there. And number two, right? Don't exceed 1700 RPM, because the carrier that holds the abrasive of the Vonax, it will have a tendency to melt a little bit, and it'll build up little ridges on the wood, which you would have to take and sand the wheel clean and then buff it again to pull those little strings of Vonax off. The same thing with the Carnuba wax. If you run more than 900 to 1,000 RPMs and you put too much Carnuba wax on there, it will make little strings, deposits on the surface. So you would again have to sand off that wheel and then buff it with a clean wheel, and it'll pull those strings off. Again, you brought out a lot of very good points. And I'll just reiterate one thing. Right? Number one, wipe it on generously. Number two, wipe it off completely. And the last thing that I do when I'm wiping the surface, right, is I stop the lathe and I make sure to take my paper towel and wipe in a random orbit manner, because it is important that you don't make concentric circles on the surface of any wood product. It will always show a streak of light, even if it's 10,000 grit. I think that's about it. But it's a great product, and just mention that it's fairly odorless, and you did mention that the humidity makes a big difference in the time delay factor, which is true. And you did a great demo. It's a wonderful product. And one other thing I want to bring out is when you have that bottle of super glue open, make sure that you cap that top before you spray accelerator. If the accelerant gets down inside that nozzle, all it takes is one molecule to set the chain reaction off of polymerization, and you'll wind up with a hard bottle of glue. So, and thank you very much for a great presentation. Again, I've been using this for 14 years. It's one of my 4 finishes that I use, and You did a great.
Yeah, he did. Thank you, Mark, for chiming in there.
And I have anybody.
Yeah, thank you, Mark.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you, Mark.
All right, let's go back to Eddie.
Thanks, Mark.
Here.
Good to see Mark up and about.
Sure is, isn't it?
I thought I'd be doing like jumping jacks or something, it's not beyond him to do that. I'm glad to see he's kicking himself back up from that little bout of unfairness he had with his health. How's that, Mark? Unfairness.
That's great. And let me tell you what, 4 weeks ago, I couldn't move my hand. I couldn't move my fingers. I couldn't use my leg. And I'm getting there, Eddie.
You're getting there. All
That's
right.
great to know.
I told him the day I heard about it. He's too grumpy to let anything else happen to him.
Yeah.
That's it. That's why I'm always in your fan club, Mark. Good to have you there. This was a great demo, very detailed, very user oriented, because it matters, folks. What we saw just now is Kirk showed us several methods, ways, and gave you some shortcuts. The little thing that he had that razor blade out doing that little blade scraping thing. Folks, forget about that sometimes. Scraper is sometimes the best source of a good, clean finish. And that blade allowed them to have a control of a good, clean, remove the bump finish. Then you can work on it from there. Remember, when you sand something, you sand everything. When you scrape off the parts that you want to go away. Might seem simplistic, but you have better control over scraping the sand. And if you've ever seen the waffling that happens on a piece when you are sanding, the harmonic setup and the bowl starts walking and all, you get a better grasp of it. We saw it tonight. I think Dave was talking about his piece he was doing. He's having a hard time to cut harmonics, the cuts, pressure from the bevel. Those all matter. We've covered a lot of things in tonight's meetings and fine-tuned some problems. It's good to see. And I see there's a lot of regular members have tuned in tonight, even though they're probably heading to SWAT this weekend. SWAT, Southwest Association of Turners, meets in Waco, Texas. The activities on campus begins on Friday morning. It's Friday, Saturday, and half a day Sunday. It's an exciting meeting. To me, it's the finest wood turning symposium in the entire world. I unfortunately cannot attend this year, but that doesn't keep it away. And if you go, you're going to enjoy yourself. It is a good time. There'll be a lot of fine people there. Duxbury's there with his bird and his wife. Should I say Duxbury's there with his wife and his bird, or they're all there. Billy Bird's heading there. Scott is coming in from California. Joaquin's driving up from Corpus Christi. We got a handful of Tim Hatch has got a pile of stickers to give away. We're going to be all over the place. Oh, keep an eye out. When you go into the dining area, straight out from, was it Carl? No,
Lyle?
Lyle. Straight out from, y'all know Lyle. Straight out from Lyle is the tables. On those tables, they're going to be a table with Worldwide Woodturners artwork on it. That's where we're meeting, folks. That's where we're getting together. That's
Great
right.
plan.
We're going to tell lies like they've never been told before. Right there. So if you're heading there, look for us and join us. And if you've got club stickers, bring an extra one with you and pass it on to a friend who doesn't know about Worldwide Woodturners. This club is growing. We're going fast. And we're looking to get you more involved. And just like tonight, this was a quick demonstration on a fine product. We've been talking about this product for 204 meetings now. Yeah, we're 204 meetings old. This whole thing got started. This entire operation got started at SWAT 4 years ago. Yeah, just because I met with you folks and you told me that we needed to have a place to meet and do just this. Sit around on a tailgate and tell stories about wood turning, share stories. No tickets. no fees, no memberships, none of that. All that's out the window. Out the window. And all we do is share wood turning. So if you've got an item like a gallery coming up or an IRD, that you invite folks to, or a meeting that goes. My wife and I were talking about today at lunch. She said, "Why don't you attend more meetings?" Okay, that's a good one. Why don't I attend more meetings? Why don't you invite me to one of your club meetings? Does your club do them and provide them on Zoom or put them on the internet? Or is there a way for us to expand what your club does? Is there a way for us to expand what you do in wood turning? How do we expand that? How do we share it? You can put it in the chat. The chat's wide open. That's free. Yeah. We don't do advertisements, but we're not married. We just dating a whole lot of people. So, you got something you want to share? That's where to go put it at. But I want to know, how can I attend your club meeting? How can Dane attend your club meeting? He said he was in a meeting today. Yeah. So, we're all
in the UK.
Yeah.
All the way in the UK, I was in the meeting.
Yeah. We're all of that age. We all find things to join and meet up with. On Tuesdays, I normally book in time for Doug Miller to see what Doug's got going on. But so if you got something like that, Cade Bolger says that you can join Chris Parker, Martin Clarkson, and Cade Bolger for Wood Turning Interactive Saturday Surgery. Wow, surgery. And that's in the chat. They're going to be a surgery. But hey, if Martin Clarkson's involved, you got to be there. It's bad enough that Kay's involved. And he probably has that little bitty cash guy with him. A little bitty cash guy is our youngest member ever. But if you got something like that, let's share it. That's what we do. No fees, no sponsorships, nothing else. Just want to know what you had, what's going on in your world. And it's good to see a lot of old members popping back in tonight. And you kind of make my day. So if we're going to go back to doing some gallery tonight, if you got something to show, throw it in chat and say, look what I have, or I need to talk to you about this or that. The way the format is pretty loose.
I got one other thing to add here about the cabinet scrapers that people have been talking about.
Yeah,
I have used cabinet scrapers, and folks who don't, and I had to learn this all by myself because I didn't know. But you can use cabinet scrapers on wood turnings while the thing's turning. So, this is a sharpening stone, but a cabinet scraper can be about this size, and you can use it to shape a large contour. Shape a large contour. So this is a 6-inch honing sharpening stone, but because I got them everywhere, but you can use it to shape an edge. If it's a really big tool, you can use it to shape a contour, a large contour. And I've got a square one and I've got a curved one. And usually the folks who know about them are people who've done flat work and have used them.
Yep.
If you've done a lot of flat work, you'll know about them. But you can use these on turned pieces. When I was turning bigger vases and bowls, and I had early on when I was having some difficulty, I had a high spot, but I didn't like my curves, and I wanted to even them out a little bit. Cabinet scraper is a great way to do that, to get your contours where you want them, because you've got a really big edge that you can move along your piece. So anyway, just thought I'd throw that out.
You can keep talking, and then I'm going to spotlight just to show. So, like what Matt's talking about.
What are all the holes for, Dane?
Well, this is you can make your own cabinet scrapers, card scrapers out of old saw blades.
Ah,
so
okay.
The handle used to be there. And so there's a flat one.
Yeah, having them, they're a little bit flat. They're thin enough to be flexible, which lets you curve them around contours as well.
Oh yeah, exactly. So. And you just you sharpen them with your diamond card. It puts a burr on both sides. Puts a burr on both sides. and then you just put a little flex against it, and it'll peel off the shaving just like just like a hand plane, just like
a shear scrape would do. Just like a shear scrape would do.
Sure will. But if you have an old saw, I'm just going to pull one off the wall here, and say you got an old flat surface saw, and you've bent the blade where it's no longer serves its purpose. Put it in the vise, file off those teeth, and then boom,
and then make that it,
cut it off, whichever, and then boom, and now you've got yourself a card scraper.
And you want the edges square so you can put a burr on it with your sharpening card, with your honing card.
Yes.
I'm going to.
So I've got bunches of these made up, and they're far cheaper than buying a card file, because the saw blades are going to be made of better metal than what the card file is actually. So,
hey Dane,
yeah, I've got a curved one too that I found useful in the past too.
Yes, so, well, that's like that one that I've got. I'll use for troublesome codes every now and then. But yeah, they work great.
And you can use a hard,
and you don't have to have the lathe moving. You can turn it by hand and get that nice fine shear scrape. Provided you got a nice edge on it. It's no different than putting your lathe tool against your workpiece and turn it by hand. If you got the correct angle, the correct right in the bevel, you're going to get a nice shaving off of it. So, Scott, let me come to you here.
Yeah. So another thing to sharpen your card scrapers is a hardened steel rod.
Yes.
And it actually works better than a diamond card, because it puts a rolled burr on, and that's the correct way to sharpen a card scraper.
Very correct.
And an old drill bit, good quality old drill bit, will work as your hardened steel rod, as long as it's smooth on the top.
Transfer punch, cobalt punch.
Yep.
Yes. Yep.
Just another option for people out there.
I remember.
So we got.
I remember the mistake I made some 60 years ago. I went to work as a helper in a cabinet shop, and I saw a guy scraping a small countertop, and he was taking the fuzz out. It had already been sanded, and he scraped it to get the rest of the fuzz out for a super clean finish. And I picked it up and looked at it, and this is nice, and put it back down. And the guy I was working with leaned over and said, "Don't ever touch that again." The guy I was working with, and it's why, and he says, "You want both hands back? Don't touch it again." That was Wimpy's, the guy who used it. That was his scraper, and that was, you wouldn't do it, and because it was just taken that care of, he would pull it out of the little leather pouch he had it in, make a couple of passes, and he had a tool steel just like a butcher would use. Just had a tool steel, make one pass over it, and come back down again, and you would swear that he had just polished that surface, that he polished it. Not saying that it polished it, because that's just how fine the fuzz would come off and clean it up. They're a handy tool, but be careful if the lathe is running. Make sure it's running slow. All right. All right, we're going to go back to gallery again. If you got something to show folks, put it in chat. We'll get about 20 minutes before the top of the hour. Like I was saying, the top of the hour means at 9 p.m. I normally clock out at 9 p.m. Central Time. But this program continues, because that's when the trouble really gets started. And that's when problems have been solved that people have had for years. They come out the woodwork to say, and it's fun. I haven't seen Joaquin Chuck in tonight.
No, he hasn't.
Not yet. Considering he might be packing, get on the road for tomorrow. He's heading there. Scott's driving in from California, so he's on the way there. Good to see some folks are in with us. Who we got for gallery tonight, sir?
All right. Well, real quick, I'm just going to show what my wife brought out to me.
That's not,
Nice
Howard,
BLT.
that's not fair.
That's just, you
Did
know,
you bring
you know,
enough for
you know,
everybody?
you know,
No, she
you know, you
didn't.
got the right one. So, all right. So, love her very much. All right, let's go to Terry.
Yeah, how you
What you got,
doing?
Terry? Now you got to
Trying to
follow
go
that
a little
BLT.
quick. Are you there?
Yep.
Yeah, you're there.
Yeah, I think we're all here. Well, a couple of weeks ago, I was supposed to do that threading and I couldn't get that Wi-Fi to work. But anyway, I set up and I did something I shouldn't have done. I set up to do a bolt like this, which is too much work. I should have stuck to the principles and keep it simple, stupid. But I did two different sets of 4 turnings, but mainly what I wanted to show was that I was able to do it on pine, but I put too much emphasis on that. I did the demonstration for our club the following Saturday that I was supposed to do it here. And it went okay, but I wasn't happy with it. Joaquin took some footage and he's done some editing. We might see from him after SWAT and see if we can put some of it up. But what I should have done is keep it simple. And I should have just showed that I could do it with the pine, just to show that I can cut threads in softwood. But this is a mesquite piece that I did. And I had this blank all set up when I did the demonstration, but I didn't do it. But you can see how the threads cut out. That's an ATPI thread. And someday we'll get some more information on it, but that's enough of that. And we'll go through one more little step. Back a couple, 3 weeks ago, Ruby brought up a pine platter that she made, and I thought it looked pretty nice out of construction lumber. So I took a shot at it. This is a small one. It's about 6 inches. And it's just out of construction lumber. And it come out pretty good. I think it's got polyurethane on it. No, it's got lacquer on it. And then I buffed it. I thought it was okay. I kind of liked it. It had some detail. But the same board that I had, I took another shot at it. And this one come out just a little nicer. It's a little bigger. This one's about 10 inches. And it's pine also.
That's pretty.
And then it come out pretty good. And it's the same. It's got 2 or 3 coats of lacquer on it, and then I buffed it. But then last weekend, we went to a garage sale that we unfortunately our club was trying to liquidate the tools and equipment of one of our members that we lost a few months back to cancer. And we're trying to clean it up for his wife and trying to clean the shop out. And as I was walking out past his barn, there was a piece of wood laying there, and it looked like it'd been there for many, many years and checked up real bad, but it had a pretty color. And I thought, well, maybe I can do something with that in remembrance of him. So I picked it up and threw it in the back of the truck. And this is not what I had in mind when I did it. This is not finished. All I did was I sanded it down and buffed it so I could see where I got any scratches or problem stuff, but there's no finish at all on it yet. But it was full of big wormholes, as you can see, that I filled. I didn't think I was going to be able to save it. It was so bad. It was a lot bigger down here where I had the tendon on it. I started to cut it down, and the whole inside of the tendon was hollow. I thought it was going to break off, so I did most of it with the tailstock up in front of it. But I did manage to fill it all up and save it, and it looks like it's come out pretty good. It's about 13 inches, I think. I believe it to be cherry. I couldn't swear to that because there's very little chance of any cherry this big around where we live. But he had another house up country further. It may have came from up there. But that's what I got. And that's what I've been playing with, trying to keep busy.
All right, right on. Thank you.
Very nice.
We'll get the demo figured out here later on, Terry. So no worries there.
Yeah, I think Joaquin's going to try to he edited the video that I did at the club. I think he's gonna try
Right.
to do that when he gets a
Yep,
chance.
I remember. Yep, I remember.
Okay.
Yeah, you just let me
Take
know. Okay.
care. Okay.
All right, let's go to Professor Rowe. Hey, Doug.
Hey, what's happening?
How you
Did
doing,
I
Doug?
unmute? Yep, I am muted. So, what do you guys think? I got a haircut. You like that?
Yeah, thank you.
I don't have a something to show you today. Today I have a someone to show you. This is Neil. Neil's brand new to wood turning. So he learned some different tool techniques and now he's finishing up his first bowl. We're gonna he just took the tendon off of it. So he's gonna sand up the bottom and have his first bowl finished tonight. But he started off learning how the gouges work, spindle gouges, bowl gouges, a scraper, and then we jumped into it. So that's Neil. Say hi, Neil.
How's it going, guys?
Hey, Neil, how's it going, buddy? Welcome to
Hey, can I give you some advice?
Of course.
Real important advice. Find you a new teacher. Get rid of Doug. He's gonna teach you all the wrong stuff.
I have not.
While we're on that subject, Neil, please don't start wearing bikinis.
Hey, what happens in Iraq stayed in Iraq. All right, I'm just gonna leave it at that.
All right, just so you know.
He's one of us. He knows.
Stay away from this guy. Stay as far away as you can.
So Neil, what kind of wood you got on there?
He's turning a piece of pecan. Unless you're sophisticated, then it's pecan.
Yeah, it's pecan. Come on now. Pecan.
We're poor folks up here. We call it pecan.
I don't know what circles y'all move in, but I've never heard it called pecan.
Pecan is something.
Yeah, that's what Southerners call it, is pecan, and Doug is not a Southerner.
Yeah.
In
You
Georgia,
can't get much further south than Arizona. We border Mexico. Doesn't that make us Southerners?
No, you're out in the west.
Doug, you border Utah and Colorado.
Well, that's true. I am a little bit further north.
I border Mexico.
But down there by Dade, we have a mountain called Picacho Peak, and there's a plaque on that mountain talks about the Civil War. I'm just saying, your side was on the side of the South.
Yeah, just like there was a Civil War up in Oregon, like that don't make no sense either.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't get me started. All right. Hey, Neil, welcome aboard. And Doug, man, good seeing you. You need to stop being a stranger, buddy.
I know I got busy with the start of the school year, and I'm gotta officiate a wedding tomorrow night, so I've been planning for that. I got a lot of different things going on, but
all you
I'll
got
try
to
to
do is
get back.
all you got to do is recycle your teaching plan from last year, like the rest of the teachers, man.
I know, but I get to
All you
my
got to do is
ADD
change the
kicks
date,
in.
find and replace, change 2022 to 2023.
The problem is when the teacher's ADD is worse than the student's ADD, it's hard to keep us all on track.
Right on. All right, man. I'll have to give you a call when we catch up. So.
All right, you guys have a good one.
All right, we'll talk to you later.
Bye, Doug.
Bye.
All right, let's go
Stay out of trouble.
Let's go back to our Master Blaster Web Blaster. Hey, Dave.
Evening again. I just wanted to give you a quick look at something I tend to do when I'm trying to, let's see if I can share some screen here. When I store things, I'm sorry, I'm a cat person. I drill holes in cat litter containers and it's on the floor right next to me. And I was just going to make a comment. That's one way to get away with it. On the back side of my lathe, I've got a simple board with a bunch of holes drilled. Nothing's ever going to roll around on me. It's towards the far end, as far away as I can get from the spinning equipment, but it's still on the opposite side. Little things end up there. And somebody was saying, you never know what you've got. Well, I wrote something on it and I make sure that I'll put the right thing in the right hole, and if it's really obvious, it doesn't go in any labeled hole. And I was gonna say, I also have a strange way of storing some things. I've got a 9-inch diameter item here. It should have our logo sitting here. As I was staring at it and taking the picture, I thought, why didn't I put a sticker there? I've got them. And it allows me to have 2 layers. Underneath it, I can put different things, and on the top, anything that's got a shaft can hang in there. So I just thought that was kind of an interesting way of storing things.
Definitely.
Just for anyone that happens to be thinking about how do I keep things from rolling on the table? Nothing's gonna roll.
Great
Yeah,
idea.
for sure. Definitely
That's
far
about all I
safer than
wanted to
those
say.
magnet
I
strips.
thought we were talking all about these sort of things. And it might be worthwhile pointing it out.
A suggestion,
Definitely.
with your cat litter container, fill it with shavings so that when your tools go in and out, they don't hit each other and get dull.
That's
go
a
in-
good idea. I need to do that.
Because that's how I do my wood turning. I've got 2 pails there that I put my tools that I'm going to use. That way they don't have very far to fall.
Exactly. They're not gonna fall, and as you say, you're not gonna get hurt. They're just at the right height. I can reach down and the handle is right there.
Good
You'll
stuff.
make it any easier. This will be fun.
I know, right? All right.
Yep.
I just saw the beast from the swamp just checked in, so let's go to him. Hey, Joaquin.
Oh my gosh.
Beast from the swamp?
I don't know what he meant by that. Well, getting ready for SWAT, leaving for SWAT in the morning, and I don't know whether y'all heard Jim made these placards with worldwide wood turners for sitting on the table there in the banquet in the lunchroom. We're going to be gathering there, and I'm looking forward to that. So I really didn't do anything today, except I finished up something I told y'all about last week when I was doing some lattice turning. And this piece here, I told you about me cutting this without planning it. And then after I'd cut this, I planned it, and I'll be darned if it didn't work out by accident, So, I mean, these little cuts that went into other cuts are the exact same. And so I lucked out on that.
I love it. It's great.
Very nice.
Yeah. Wonderful.
Thank you. And that's all I got done since last Wednesday. And wished all y'all was going to be at SWAT, though. Be fun.
Yeah, me too.
Would be.
That's all I got, Dane.
All right. Thanks, Joaquin.
Betcha.
Somebody wanted to talk to you tonight. Who was that?
I don't
Oh,
know.
yeah. Howie did. Howie, you still there? Howard King.
I'm here. Yeah. Hey, Joaquin, how you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. Let me put you on gallery, huh?
A couple weeks ago on Facebook, I had a piece that had a finial like this, and you asked, how did I do that? Right? Do you remember that?
Oh, yeah. Yes, sir. I know you heard it, but good night,
Well, I'll go through the steps for you if you want me to.
Okay, I most definitely.
I'll just start off with a, say, 1.5 by 1.5 piece of holly, about 6 inches long.
Yes, sir.
And then put a tenon on it.
Okay.
And then I kind of make a little finial, but I'm going to try to keep it between centers as much as possible. And I make this egg shape here, kind of like an egg.
Gotcha.
And then try to do as much as I can on the finial, but still keeping attached. So I just got to put a point here on this part. And so then I got my bottom part of my finial, and then I can chuck this up, but again, I keep it, between centers.
Yes.
I don't know if you can see, but I got lines, 3 lines, one in the middle and one about 1/4 inch from each side.
On the twist, right?
on the egg.
They're twisted on the egg.
Oh yeah, yeah. Can you
Yeah.
see? Is
Yeah.
that better?
Yes. For
All
me.
right. Then I put 4 lines on it, equal distance.
Yep.
And then I drew a pencil line from one to the middle to this side. Okay. Let's see. Stuart Mortimer showed how to do this at a symposium several years ago, and I sat through about 3 or 4 of his classes because I couldn't understand what he was saying, and I studied. But anyway, this is where I came up with this. So anyway, I got these lines like that on there, and that's how the tines are going to be going.
Okay.
Okay. So then I took like a 1/4-inch drill bit, or maybe 3/16, and I just started drilling on those lines towards the middle of the piece, if that makes sense.
Yep.
Towards the middle. So I drill all these holes all the way around on all the lines like that. Okay.
Yes.
So it's still on the lathe between the centers, and I'm drilling those into the middle. So once I get them all drilled out, I take a Dremel with a long bit, that's a tapered bit.
Okay.
And I just lay it on the side and clean out those drill holes. So that's what I'm doing here. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
See, I left that one, but here I've already been working on it. But these 2 has got yet to be done.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
Wow.
Right,
Wow.
then after I get it kind of cleaned out, I take files and stuff and work on the inside, and also the Dremel, and try to reduce the inside of these, trying to keep these as even as I can. All right.
Yes.
So it's still mounted between centers. Okay.
Yep.
All right. So then, oh, that's the other one. Okay. Then I take with this, I take strips of sandpaper, starting with 80 grit up to 400, about a 1/4 inch, maybe 3/8 inches thick. And I put them in here. I don't know if you can see that or not. I put it in here, and then I just I wrap it around these, and then I just kind of do this deal.
Yes.
So I come up with this. All right.
That is awesome. I'm telling you. Wow.
But the problem is, lots of these tines are side grain, right? Because the grain's going this way, and you just got slivers of thing holding. So to get this final point on here, I take masking tape, wrap all around here to kind of hold that together, because I don't want this to twist and break. Does that make sense?
Yes. Yes.
So anyway.
Until you finish up just with sandpaper, strips of sandpaper, getting it round there.
Yes, and keep working at it, and then in here take files and stuff and sandpaper, keep working, get all the inside sanded as best you can, which takes lots of elbow grease. And so this is Holly. So last time I'll put black lacquer on these.
Gotcha.
And turn black. And sometimes I'll put a bottom finial, because if somebody takes it out, they got a surprise, like, oh wow, And some I put threads on it that can drill down into the hollow form. So
that is beautiful. How long does it take you to do that? Is that a day, 2 days, or?
Yeah, a couple of days, because sanding these and getting these almost the same, even though there are differences, of course, somebody just looking at it can't really tell unless they really look close. Another wood turner, they're going to look real close, see how well I did. But anyway, that's the basic
steps.
That is beautiful. I got a friend in Michigan, Barry Todd. He does that, and I've been wanting to do it for 3 years and just didn't get
Right.
much detail. But
Yeah.
that gives me a challenge. That's a great teaching aid you got with all them done like that.
Those are beautiful, Howard.
Well,
Barry's in Ohio, Joaquin. Not
But, you're right. He is in Ohio. Yeah.
So
we take that difference seriously up here.
That's funny.
this is a little bit bigger. This is made out of maple. Maple's it's kind of tough. It's kind of tough going on maple, but the holly works great.
Is holly softer than the maple?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, softer. Yeah. And it's more forgiving.
But where do you
so,
get your holly? Holly is hard for us to get unless we order it.
Every once in a while, I come upon a holly tree somebody's cut down, and I've cut down a few. In fact, this past winter, I lost 2 holly trees, and so we had a hard winter. We had killed a bunch of plants around here. So anyway, but I like holly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I like holly. It's real, white, holds up good. So anyway.
I appreciate you sharing that, and I'm sure there's a bunch of other turners that appreciate you sharing it too.
Those are beautiful.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Any other questions about it or anything?
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yes. How many of those tines have you got going up on the? How many of those little?
There's 4. There's 4.
Okay.
There's 4 of them, and see when I lay it out. I got these horizontal lines. There's 4 of them. So what I do, I just index it, start 0,
So is the twist 90 degrees apart?
180.
No,
180. Okay.
They're 180.
All right.
It starts here and goes all the way up.
Okay, I see it. Yeah.
Okay.
You draw corner to corner on the rectangles drawn on the piece.
Yeah, I just freehand try to draw a straight line from the bottom part. Can y'all see that or not?
Yeah,
a little bit.
The pencil marks are kind of hard to see, but
yeah, they are. But go from here to the middle, and then from the middle to the next one. So that gives you the 180 degrees.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And
okay.
But once you start getting down, to this, it's real fragile, very fragile, because there's not much holding these things together. And then the last thing, when you're trying to put this point on here, I wrap lots of masking tape around this part here to kind of hold it together. Hopefully it'll hold together, and then gingerly take that off.
I'm inspired. Yep.
They're beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
Well, okay. I just, I had showed one on Facebook, and I think Joaquin had come back and said, how you do that?
Yeah.
So I got to think, well, how can I show him how to do this? And so that's what I did.
Fantastic.
Nice job, Howard.
All right.
Nice job.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions about it? I know that was too short of an explanation.
Are you still rolling with the tide?
Yes.
Oh my. All right. Well, we'll talk to you next week then.
Yeah, okay. All right.
That was awesome. That was awesome.
Thanks, Howie. That's good info, everybody. And thanks for taking the time laying that out so you can show Joaquin how to do that.
Okay.
If you don't mind, I'm going to clip out those images and make a little article for the website that explains what you just said. I'll give you credit for it, obviously. And I'm certain everybody's going to want to grab that article and read it again or use it.
Yeah, fantastic teaching aids.
All right, thank you.
A miniature demo, and you don't even have to you don't have to be in front of your lathe.
Right.
There was.
Yep.
That's what we do.
And we can take demos like that, There's nothing wrong with that.
Not at all.
No.
All
That's
right,
what we do
Eddie.
here.
let's get
Somebody
back to
came
you
up
for
with
closing
something.
Ceremonies.
Yeah, we came up with something. We're not at the tailgate, and boom, there he is. You know, Joaquin said, "How do you do that?" And I said, "Oh, well, let me show you." You know, and that's what we do out on a tailgate. It happens every week. A couple of good demonstrations tonight. A lot of good show and tell, or gallery. We saw some work, saw some new members, and inviting you to come back. Bring a friend. That's right, bring a friend. If you're heading
Tell a
to
friend.
tell a friend.
Bring a friend, tell a friend.
If you're heading to SWAT, have a good time, be safe, don't get in trouble. You know, we do know we have some troublemakers going. We do know, well, y'all know we're watching, and there's cameras everywhere. So when you do it, hold up a sticker, you know, make sure they know it's Worldwide Woodturners, you know, because we're making an impact on woodturning world because woodturning world is making an impact on us. So we want you to be there and have a good time and enjoy yourself. Above all else, like we heard from this evening from Sue, be safe. And remind you, as what how Donald will tell us from Australia, is save the chat. Go to the chat, click on a little red button, and it's 3 dots, save chat, save it to be there. But hey, if you miss something on these programs, you didn't lose them because we got the world's greatest webmaster, our master webmaster. Dave Rose handles our website, and all this information goes to that website. You heard him say just now, he's going to clip some parts out of Howard's about how to do the finial and how to shape it all out. And he'll put that right there, a little mini demo on our website. Now, where can you get that kind of service? Where can you get that? I don't think you can. That's what you get here, worldwidewoodturners.org. I'm Captain Eddie Castle, and thank you all for joining us this evening, being part of this great work, this great organization. We have fun. We tell a lot of lies. We get a little bit of trouble, but we sure do love our work. Y'all take care, and I'll see you again next week. Enjoy yourselves and be safe.
Thanks, Eddie.
Good night, Eddie. Good night, everybody. For everybody else that's not sticking around for the after hours, which is the unofficial
Good night, Eddie.
meeting.
Good night. Good night, everyone.
See you now.
I just threw a link in the chat, so save the chat. I just threw a link in the chat for a video on YouTube of a guy doing something very similar to what we were just shown here. So he's using power tools and some files on the lathe in the middle of it. He's doing a stem, but it shows that process. So take a look at that too.
One of our members did a demo for us about a year and a half ago. Walt Wager. It's on our YouTube channel, and it's on the webpage as well.
Cool. Very, very neat stuff. I want to do some of those. So yeah.
If it happens here, it's in perpetual. It's here. It's always going to be
perpetuity.
Perpetuity.
Scott said he's going to be throwing gouges at hecklers. So I'm going to make sure I heckle him.
You, man.
Don't expect to get them back. Huh?
Yeah, I'm going to make sure I heckle him. I can use another gouge.
Yeah.
Oh, Randy, you want to show some photos from the after hours, or do you want to wait until next week to show them?
Or do both.
I guess I can wait till next week. It's not a big deal.
Well, you can show them to us now, but you might want to show them next week, during the regular meetings too.
Scott did that thing, and I just hooked up with Ed Davidson. Some people may know him by Yo-Yo Spin.
Yo-Yo Spin, yeah.
And
I've known Ed for years.
I was inspired by some of the bottle stopper blanks he made, and this is one that I made.
Very nice.
It has a porcelain rose in it. It's white. And it's a 2-level casting. The bottom part is green. The top part is clear. It's not real perfect because as you see here, right here, there's a little bit of green got into the clear. I kind of hope I can turn that away.
It's still pretty.
This rose is not real big. It's only about maybe 3/4 of an inch, I think.
That's going to be
But you
lovely.
can get these on eBay in craft rose, called porcelain craft roses. And so that's just one thing that I did that I'm getting ready to do.
Pretty cool.
So that was it.
Oh, okay. Right on. Well, thanks for sharing that, Randy.
Hey, I got a question if anybody wants to give me a little bit of something here. Can anybody recommend a good place to order some maple? I need some platter maple, fairly large. We have no maple in my part of the world.
So first of all, Brent, tell me where you are.
I'm in Wyoming.
I was going to say you can probably pick some up at SWAT.
If I were, I can't. I can't drive.
Do you have are you near a city that has a specialty lumber place?
No, there is no
Okay.
such thing in Wyoming.
Let me see what I can find.
How big are you looking?
The platter I'm looking at, I want to do around a 16-inch.
I bet Andy Jarrett would have some. He's in Southern Ohio.
Andy Jarrett, is that someplace? Yeah, is there a website?
I'll send you his contact details.
Okay, that'd be great. Appreciate it.
He
You got my.
sells it all the time. Yeah, let me double check. I know I got you on chat.
Okay.
Seems like I've got you an email. I know that. So
Okay, yeah, that'd be great. Yeah, yeah. I'm looking at doing some. I want to do some basket illusion on a large piece of maple here and such. And
if not, I'm sure he'd be able to go out and cut one. So
what size are you looking for?
I'm looking around 16-ish.
Ooh.
So fairly.
he wants to make a platter, an actual platter, not a plate.
A bigger one.
Yeah, something big.
Platter. Yeah.
So we have no wood like that in my part of the world.
Yeah, I'll send you his contact details, and then I'll reach out to him. He's a friend of mine.
I'm looking
and see what he has. Also, let him know that you're looking and you're a buddy.
Okay, you already did it.
Yes, and that was a little bit of the accelerator.
Nice. Yeah, that's
good.
Yeah.
All right.
Oh.
That's gonna look sharp though.
Yeah.
Let it set up, and then you still got the lacquer at home.
All right.
Well, you brought it back. Just take it with you.
Okay.
And
Hey, Doug.
Highlight off.
We hear you, Doug.
Sorry, let me mute myself.
We got you. I think, unless you muted yourself back and muted me. There we go. And I'm just looking at questions. All right.
You like to lie down a lot, don't you?
I think I'm gonna go tonight, guys.
Night,
All right,
Brenda.
Brenda.
Night, Brenda.
Yeah, I'm going to,
Good
guys.
night, guys.
Night.
Glad
See
you
y'all
came
next
tonight.
week. Take care, guys.
You
Glad you enjoyed the pool time.
Oh, yes, I am. Yes. Loving it.
Good night, all.
You know, I still haven't been in my pool this year.
That's crazy.
I know,
That's
right?
crazy. I've been in mine about every day.
I felt
It's
the
the only
water.
way to be outside.
I felt the water today, and it felt cold.
Oh, no. Can't be. Mine was 82.
Yeah, mine was probably 85, 88. Yeah, it felt cold.
Oh, yeah. Cold. No way.
We were
The
at
water
88
temperature
today.
is as close to the ambient temperature. It's it just feels cold out here because there's no humidity in the air.
Yeah. Being in the pool is the
Brent.
only way to be outside right now. So.
Oh, wah. You guys, it's supposed to be
Be outside than in the house.
It's supposed to be 106 in Waco with
Oh, what to do is Texas. Get used to it.
Yeah.
They got air conditioning where you're going to be at.
Yep.
But my hotel's
Except for
across the street.
yesterday, it's
so
been
I
that
can
way
walk
in San Antonio for.
You guys are all driving in your car with the AC on, and you're going to get out. You're going to go into the convention center where there's AC. You know, you're only going to be exposed to the elements for temporarily. Things aren't going to melt.
Nah. I told my wife if we were ever able to transfer back to Texas from Ohio, that I would never complain about the heat again, and I have not, even in the face of this heat wave.
I don't complain about it either, Billy.
I'd rather have this heat for what little we get. Well, this year's been a little more than usual, but I'd rather have this heat than have to shovel snow. I guarantee.
Well, at 50 degrees, I'm putting on long johns, you know. Here, we're so climatized to the heat.
Yeah. And I hate shoveling snow. Oh my God.
That's why the gods gave us. That's why the gods made snow blowers, you guys. Come on.
Oh yeah, I used one, Matt.
Building a place in Ohio, and after being back in November and December and January there in Kentucky with that nasty coldness there, which is the same coldness up in Ohio.
Yep.
And I'm like, yeah, not happening.
I used one and it was still cold as shiznit. I mean, holy crap.
Yeah. There's nothing quite like trying to get the snow off your driveway when it's -20 outside. Fahrenheit.
And not with the Midwest humidity, and no.
No.
You know, people say, "Oh, dry, cold, wet, cold, cold is cold, hot is hot." BS.
No,
I've been in all four. I've been in dry, warm, hot, and in the West Texas desert and New Mexico. I've been in the wet, hot in Houston. I hate that. Give me the West Texas desert. I've been in dry, cold in Anchorage, Alaska, and I've been in wet, cold in the Midwest. I'll take Anchorage. Thank you very much.
You'd like Minnesota, except for the really cold stuff.
Yeah, we sold the ranch in South Dakota because of that weather.
Yeah. Okay, all right. You know what that's like then. Okay.
Yes, sir. I do.
Yeah, I
been there, done that. We had 4 sections.
Do that again.
Yeah, I
did a temporary assignment in Eielson Air Force Base. Yet don't need to do that again either.
Well, no, Eielson's in Fairbanks, and Fairbanks is not as dry as Anchorage. If you can find that, if you can believe
cold.
That. Yeah.
It's freaking cold.
It's more humid.
I lived for a couple of years in Rochester, Minnesota, and worked with some guys from Rochester, Minnesota, and worked with some guys from South Dakota and from Bismarck, North Dakota. And it was, it's one of those questions you're like, what do you guys do when it wasn't that cold in southeastern Minnesota? Like, we had a couple nights there where it was 40 below and stuff, and that was pretty cold, but it's a lot colder further north and further west, like in South Dakota and northern Minnesota and North Dakota. Yep. So I was like, what do you guys do when it's that cold? And it's like, well, there's nothing to do but drink and screw. So that was what they did. So.
That's why they had so many kids up there.
That's right.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of April babies.
I'm one of those.
Yeah. So my daughter was born in April.
Yeah.
April 16th.
Oh, that's my nephew's birthday.
How's teaching going, Mr. Rowe?
You know what? It's going good. I did a fun little exercise with my kids yesterday. Well, some of them were today, just depending on which class period it was. But we're learning about different governments and economies. And so they got to learn the difference between communism, socialism, and capitalism, free market, economy, blah, 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 right?
Right.
So then, I messed with these kids so bad. This was awesome. I give them all a sheet of paper. I pick about 6 kids and I said, the instructions I'm about to give don't pertain to the 6 of you. You'll get your own set of instructions in a minute. The rest of the class, you will take your pencil. You will only use pencil. You will draw a house on that piece of paper. That house will be 1 story, 2 windows, 1 door. That is it. Somebody raises their hand. And I said, there are no questions. You will draw 1 house, 1 story, 2 windows, 1 door. And so then they start getting to go, and then some kid tries to ask a question again. There aren't, right? And I just repeat myself. I won't change the instructions for him. And then I go and I grab a big box of markers and crayons, and I go to the other 6 kids and I said, here you go, guys. Just draw houses. Have fun. Make what you want. And they're like, what? And then finally, in each class, there was about 1 kid that would clue in before I would start asking questions. So what do you guys think you're learning the difference between? A free market economy where people can make what they want versus what the government tells them they have to make.
Exactly. Yeah, my wife's been retired for a few years, and she's going back in the classroom this year.
Oh, yeah.
They have a teacher shortage, and one of her coworkers contacted her, and then her former principal, and said, I really need you to come back. So
I don't know.
She's coming back.
But I also know I love it because it's not my primary career. And I have to remind myself that when I see these teachers complaining, and I'm like, that was me at the end of my military career, though. I just hated it. And I'm sure, an outsider looking in would probably go, oh, you're a soldier. How cool is that? You get to shoot guns. I'm like, you don't want to know.
Right.
Yeah. Well, and when it quits being fun, it ain't worth it,
Right.
Yeah,
that's why I retired. It quit being fun.
Yeah.
That's like my son. He's got 3 years to go, and he's a C4 officer.
Okay.
And he hates it with him. He could get out tomorrow.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, my last 2 years, man, I would fight every morning to get out of bed and put that uniform on and go to work.
So he's out in Hawaii, and he's one of those that would volunteer for everything. I'm getting a big echo.
Yeah, it's coming from your second device, Daniel.
I thought I turned it down. It
You
is.
turn
It's
it
off.
We go through this every meeting. You just muted yourself, though. One that you have,
There.
Dan Smith. You need to 86 that one.
There, how's that?
Better.
Much better. There we
All
go.
right.
You even look better. That's even possible.
That's hard to believe.
That wasn't nice.
Well, you know I'm big into professional wrestling. So in professional wrestling, we call that a rib.
Yeah.
Just remember, it's hard for me to learn.
Oh, that's all right. Well, it's all that water you drink up there in Michigan. I try to talk slow when I'm talking to y'all. So
I was just reading an article that Great Lakes are the most polluted lakes in the world.
wow.
That's what I've heard.
Yeah. Well,
That explains
don't
the
get me
third
started,
arm.
Lion. Don't get me started, Lion. All right, I got
That explains your third arm.
That came out wrong.
I mean, you got arm, not leg. So
Yeah,
I guess.
exactly. That's what I was thinking. You're good.
This is my buddy Matt. We call him Tripod.
Tripod.
I think it's all Chicago's fault, frankly. Because we don't have hardly any population here in Detroit anymore. So,
Well, we got U.S. Steel. We got in Canada, they got the iron ore.
Oh, right. And don't forget all the chemical places in Dow and Midland, and all that stuff washes out into Saginaw Bay.
Yep. And
Remember all the
Saginaw
crud-
Bay just goes around in a circle.
and eventually trickles into Lake Huron.
Yep.
And then there's the nuclear waste disposal place. They're big at building underneath Lake Huron too, from the Canadian side.
Under the lake.
And then all that stuff that they that train wreck in Ohio that they brought up here and dumped off.
Oh yeah, the one in Steubenville.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, you didn't think we were going to keep it in Ohio, did you?
We tried to
come
make
on,
you
man.
keep it in Ohio.
Yeah.
Y'all could have just dumped that stuff over the falls and it had been gone and into the ocean. It'd be no problem for anybody. But no.
Man,
No,
did you
but
say
Michigan
under the
was
lake?
all like, "Yeah, we'll take it. We like pollution."
Well, that's because y'all paid us to take it. So yeah, you know.
Is that what it was?
Yeah, great. Yeah. Our governor is a.
Yeah, I know.
She's kind of a that way.
Yeah, they could have planned that kidnapping better, huh? Couldn't they? I'm just joking.
Well, you know, you can only wish. You can only wish. But let me go this way. Of the 15 people that they arrested in that plot, 11 of them were FBI agents. Okay.
I know, right? That's why I'm laughing. You know,
and the other 4 guys were like drunk country guys, you know, that they picked up in a local bar or something.
Right.
You know, some guy
just
at the
bunch of
next
hate
table is like,
speakers.
yeah, let's get in on this. You know?
Right. Yeah, I'd do that for $100.
Yeah, that was pretty much it. 2 of them were brothers, I think, and, and that was
yeah,
you know,
2 of them were, yeah.
You living in a trailer or out in the woods somewhere or something like that. It was like,
right.
Yeah, we'll do that, man. That sounds like a good time.
Friend of mine was an FBI agent. That explains why he just recently retired. He's straight laced as they come.
Yeah, his club definitely changed over the years.
Yep. All right, gang, I'm gonna jet. I got a pack for tomorrow.
All right,
everybody who's going, have a great time. I see a couple people that bailed.
Have a safe trip.
Thank you. Y'all have a good night.
So when I came into the meeting tonight, Safety Sue was doing her part, and then people were talking about the different ways to put their tools and this and that and whatever. And I don't know how this happened, but in my head, I started hearing the Ray Stevens song about driving school, where he thinks he's just gonna teach his kid how to drive, but his kid's just been seeing dad drive the way dad drives and like, oh, I know what I'm doing. Never mind learning by the rules and starting slow. And that's all I can picture myself is like, how many times have I that these people are talking about we shouldn't do? Now, it's not how I did it in the beginning, but I feel like I'm good enough now until that mistake happens. And then, oh, I have a skew in my foot.
Right.
I'm still
and one of the first things I teach beginning students is if you're going to move the tool rest, turn the lathe off.
Turn the lathe off, right? Yeah.
And, you know, I mean, none of us do that in our shops at home, you know. I mean, you know, we're turning, I need to move the tool rest, I'm moving the tool rest, you know.
I turn the lathe off.
Yeah.
Every time. I don't do it every time.
Every time.
Well, good for you guys. You're a better man than I am.
I think the one that I'm the absolute worst at is throwing. Next thing I know, I've got 4 tools sitting on the bed of my lathe, going just wait for when I'm going to fall into my foot.
Yeah, that's right. We had a discussion about that too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now see, there's an argument for not cleaning your shop up. There's an argument for leaving a foot deep worth of shavings underneath your lathe, right there.
Yeah. True.
But it was
despite
funny.
The fire hazard.
Coming over, and so I'm listening to all, going, yeah, I need to make sure I'm showing them the right way to do things. Don't show him the combat speed. Show him by the book. You know, he'll figure out combat speed on his own.
Yeah, very true. Very true.
A bunch of green doors, and they had the glass in them, so I was breaking glass out of it, and I had it over one of those little trailers that you pull behind a lawnmower. And I had put a piece of cardboard over it, and I'm tapping it so it's not spraying all over. My buddy comes over and he says, "You know, your shoe's all full of blood." I said, "Nah, you're full of it." And I looked down, sure as shit, there was a piece of glass that was about 4 inches long that